Sit back and relax while I listen to Train Kickers podcast. I'm Dave, and along with my co-hosts Dan and Steve, we're going to take you all around the world of miniature wargaming. On tonight's episode, we're going to continue our deeper dives into the Horus Heresy new edition, and in particular, we're going to go through the Unaligned Rites of War. For anyone wanting to keep track, these start on page 96 in either the Liber Astartes or the Liber Hereticus books. We're going to go through all 9 of them here. Some of the ones we're going to keep a little bit shorter, just because, say, for Fury of the Ancients, we want to be able to do more of a tactical discussion later. So you're going to notice that one was cut off a little bit just because we ended up getting a little bit off track for what we wanted the discussion to be in this one. We are going to go through and do some separate, deeper dives to discuss tactics and strategies as well. And now, on to the show. All right, and on tonight's episode, we are going to be going through the general rites of war that are accessible to all the different legions. We figured now that we're at the halfway point, we've discussed 9 legions, we have 9 less to go, that this was a good time to start going through the rites of war. As you've seen, we started posting up for some of the legions that we've done, and those will be coming out periodically from here on out. But we wanted to get through the general ones to be able to, one, let everyone see what they can take, as well as we try to get into more of these discussions here, we at least have the good fallback of what you could take if you either don't like the restrictions on your own, don't want to build your legion that way, or whatever other reason it may be. So tonight we're just going to go through all the general ones. There are, what is it, 9?
9.
9. Okay, yeah, so we got 9 of them to go through. This might take a bit, but there'll be timestamps and all so people can follow along. What we should probably start with is requirements to make sure people know what they have to have in order to actually have a rite of war. Anyone in particular want to talk about that briefly?
I mean,
I'll take it.
sure, take it, yeah.
So, essentially, rites of war, just to broadly cover that as well, rites of war are like an army theme or like an army of renown kind of deal. So, basically, it takes the standard Space Marine list and it twists it to work a little bit differently, either by moving around some unit choices, unlocking new war gear items, changing like deployment styles, all kinds of like modifications it makes to the core list. But in order to use one of these things, you need a model that has the Master of the Legion special rule. And there are 3 generic units, well, 2 generic units that could do this, plus your Primarch and a bunch of named characters. And those 2 units would be the Legion Praetor and the Legion Delegatus console upgrade. It is important to note that you cannot have a Delegatus and a Praetor in the same detachment, but if you have an allied detachment, you could absolutely run one of them in one and the other in the other, and you have a max of 1 Praetor per full 1,000 points of the list, and that does carry over to allied detachments. The Delegatus, on the other hand, does not count towards that number. They're kind of an exception to that 1,000-point rule. So what this means is you could have a list, say, a 3,000-point army with a Primarch, a Praetor, and then in an allied detachment, a Delegatus.
And then you could take 3 rites of war technically under that?
2, because you only have 2 detachments that could.
True, yes, because it's 1 per. Okay, so every detachment can have a rite of war, assuming you have someone to open it up for you, like the Delegatus or a Praetor or a special character, whatever that may be.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've just
some rites of war can only be in the primary detachment.
Mm-hmm.
There's 1 or 2 that could only be in an allied detachment.
The Space Wolves,
interesting and different. Yeah, the watch packs.
Yes.
So that's something to keep note of. That is a big change from the previous edition, where it had to be your Warlord's detachment. And I think that covers that fairly well. You just need one of those 2 characters. They unlock the option, and then you're going to have some limitations and bonuses you get for doing it.
Yeah. And it's a good thing to mention again, because you said it, but it's the idea of what a rite of war really does is it breaks the rules of how you put an army together. That's the biggest thing. Especially the general ones. Some of your Legion-specific ones do, I don't want to say more, but they're going to vary up a little bit extra on that. A lot of these just break the general rules of what does an army actually look like. And The other big thing is, your Legion specific ones, I feel sometimes can be a little bit easier to fill because, oh, it's your Legion. Oh, they do some stuff with their cool special units. Oh, it's my Legion. I probably got cool special units. Where some of these, like when we talk about Fear of the Ancients or the one where it's all Predators and other vehicles like that, that might be very tough to fill. So some of these might be things you don't even really look at depending on what you've decided to put in your collection. All right. So, does anyone want to talk about the Recon company? Oh, and for this, we'll do it the same way we did before. We're going to always start with the limitations. What can't you have? What is the restriction? And then talk about the things that you get. That's a worthwhile discussion to do it that way because you don't want to get excited about something and then realize that there's a rule later that tells you why you can't. We're going to try to avoid Dan syndrome.
I've
Hey.
broken my own heart so many times with this. I'm like, oh yeah, Hammer of Olympia. I love this. I'm gonna bring in a drill, and then I realized I couldn't take a drill, and I got very sad.
You know, people
like,
need
I
golden
already had the
retrievers in
dream.
their lives.
I
That's all
had the
have to say.
dream. It was there, and
People
it
need
died.
golden retrievers in their lives. They're very helpful.
But am I wrong?
No.
Oh, okay. So that's, I mean, we all want to do
No.
that, but I now actually have gotten into the mode of I look first at anything that might be stopping me, and then I look at what's cool because I don't want to get that feeling like I get to do all this stuff. Oh no, I don't, and then get suddenly
So,
dejected.
little weird side note. What's
Okay.
funny about this is I don't play Legions. I've never
No, you
played. I
don't.
mean, I played White
You
Scares.
are a special snowflake.
God, when the hell did I have those White Scars? I keep remembering them, and I
Like
sold them all.
2014, probably.
Yes, they're so old. But yeah, I played. Yeah, I played. I don't play Legion armies. What's really ironic is though that when like the Mechanicum book came out and people like you saw this, I was like, oh, this combo works. This combo works. This doesn't work. Oh, they changed this, and it's just because it's more of like I'm comfortable with the army enough to know like what to do and not to do, right? Whereas everyone was like doom and gloom, I'm just sitting there like, but you can Paragon of Metal a Thanatar, and now you precision shot on a 4-up with a strength 10 gun and snipe out whoever the hell you want. So it's just funny that I'm more cautious, I guess, when it comes to Mechanicum, Custodes, and stuff like that. But with Legion, I'm all like, ooh, this I want to take it. Throw caution into the wind.
See, I am under the full belief that your White Scars are like a Berenstain versus Berenstain Bears sort of Mandela effect. And you only believe you had these White Scars because you don't know
No, they exist.
when
I
or
swear
anything
to
like
God,
that. You're not going to convince
invite
me
Brett
otherwise.
to the podcast just as evidence. I swear, and I can't. You know what the sad part is? I can't even.
You know he's gonna corroborate with us that this army never existed.
I can't even find freaking pictures of it. That's the sad part.
Imaginary things don't have pictures.
Hold on. To be fair, the reason I don't have pictures is because that was back when I didn't have a smartphone. We're going like back in time.
For you not having a smartphone, we could go back like 3 years.
Okay. It wasn't okay. Okay, though.
All right, who wants to talk about Recon? Does anyone want to?
I'll jump on Recon so we could get this ball rolling. All right, so the Legion Recon Company is the first Rite of War. This is going to be pages 96 to 97 is where we start getting to Rites of War, by the way. I know the book is kind of hard to navigate, so 96, 97, that's Loyalist or Traitor book. Up to this point, they are symmetrical. Identical. So, the limitations on a Legion Recon Company. No unit in this detachment can include that includes models of the heavy subtype. May be deployed during deployment, and then instead be in reserves. So that means your units such as Breacher squads and Cataphracti Terminators and Leviathans have to start the game in reserves. You don't have to be in special reserves. You could be in like normal walk on the table reserves, but they gotta be in reserves. The idea is this is the Recon Company. They're scouting ahead of the larger, slower force. A detachment with this Rite of War may not take any fortification choices. This probably won't break too many people's hearts. Fortifications haven't really been a significant thing in Heresy for a while, and they are even less so in this edition where we have a defense line and a fortified wall that doesn't mean anything. And then finally, all compulsory troops in a detachment using this Rite of War must be Legion Reconnaissance Squads or Legion Scout Squad. So that's fairly standard for these Rites of War, the generic ones. It'll have like a themed unit that is troops, and you have to take that unit.
Now, just to
Yeah.
quickly talk about this, just to make sure, because I don't run scout type things. Reconnaissance, so just flipping back on page 49, these are essentially power armored scouts with a little bit of rules changes, of course. And then you have scouts on page 50, which are what you think of the normal scout armor, 4-up armor save guys. Otherwise,
Both have access to sniper rifles and shotguns and squad-wide melta bombs, which is actually a very nice thing to have available.
yeah, a lot of their upgrades are very, very similar. The biggest thing is scouts themselves get to move through cover, and on the reconnaissance, the sergeant has a few more options. It looks like for his melee weapon, from what I see. Otherwise, similar. Just the save is a big difference, of course.
Yep. Although recon squads are line, whereas
Yeah.
scouts are not.
True. That's another big one. Yep.
Scouts also get the light subtype,
Yes.
which gives them the ability to run and shoot snapshots.
Yep. And one extra move. They are move 8 instead of 7.
Yep. Which gives them a +1 on charges, which is kind of cool, I guess. But generally, I think the recon squad is worth more than the scout squad in the majority of cases. Unless you really need to trim off some points to squeeze in sniper rifles. Or Nemesis bolters, rather. Which is an option for both of these units, by the way. And not at all a bad one, although it's a little pricey. Yeah. As for the effects, what do you get for taking these limitations? You must take Recon and Scouts. Well, those two units no longer have the support squad rule, which means you are able to take them as your compulsory choices. Additionally, Legion Seeker squads, those are kind of like Stirring Guard veterans of old school 40k. Think a tactical marine, but their bolter is full of special ammunition, and they have ballistic skill 5, so they're hitting on 2. They also have precision shot 4-up, so they're a nice unit to have on the board. I'm becoming a huge fan of them. And finally, an army that includes at least one detachment with its right of war. They re-roll any dice they roll, see who takes the first turn, or when attempting to seize the initiative. So the idea is, you're sneaking up, getting to enemy territory, and you're springing a trap on them because you've scouted ahead and kind of catch them on the back foot.
This is the first time I think I've looked at some scout stuff before because it's in troops, and obviously I've looked at this book front cover to back. The first time I've honestly paid much attention to anything in fast attack, especially the Seekers. I didn't realize they were essentially Stern Guard veterans. I didn't notice the extra ballistic skill or anything like that. And yeah, Kraken bolters, so they have the special rounds and all of that. I saw these guys and I was like, all right. And I just kind of overlooked them because I don't really use any fast attack currently.
I like Seeker squads. I think they're absolutely nasty.
Yeah,
And the fact that snipers can pin. Stupid question. They can't take multi-meltas, right?
No,
Because I was going to compare them to the head Seekers.
No, Dan. So they could swap out their Kraken bolters for combi bolters, but they lose the special ammo. I don't think it's ever worth it. The special ammo is amazing. You got 3 fire modes with it. You got the spray and pray mode where your weapons assault 3. You got your standard Kraken mode where it's range 30 with a little bit of extra in AP and strength. Not that much better. And then you've got my favorite, which is, I'm blanking on the name of it, but it's basically like the Executioner rounds. And those are strength 5 and breaching 4-up. Yeah, the Scorpius rounds. Breaching 4-up is very nice.
Yeah.
So I have been enjoying that unit a lot. I don't know if it really has to be troops, though, because unless you're really going ham on, I don't know, bikes and speeders, I don't think fast attack's a very contested slot, at least not in the lists that I end up writing. No. So I don't feel the need to move them to troops.
If you're running...
Especially with them not gaining line.
If you're running it as a recon company, I can see wanting your fast attack open because you do want more bikes or like I said, speeders. Because to me, any army could probably be good or do well enough to have fun with it. But to me, you're playing this one for a lot of the fluff. You're playing this one because you like the idea of essentially a scout company, the forward force. So to me, like, yeah, you're allowed to take heavy units. They can't start on the board, they start in reserves, but you're allowed to have them. to me, it almost feels like, no, I don't want that. Those guys would be too slow. They'll slow us down. Yeah, I want to be able to have my fast attack open because I want to cram as many like land speeders into it, or just take tons of bikes. Like it has a very cool feel. Or I mean, your fast attack is where you have some neat planes.
This is true. I forgot the planes
Yeah,
are there.
yeah, you got a couple of them in there. The Xiphon is in there.
That's right. Aircrafts aren't their own shit. Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, the
That's right.
Xiphon and the
That's
Storm
a
Eagle
newer
are in there.
invention.
And then your different, your land speeder variants and some things like that, and the Javelin.
I always forget. I always forget that airplanes are not like. Where was that? Was an addition, right? Where aircraft
I
was
think
its own thing.
8th and 9th split
Yes.
off to their own
Okay.
category.
Okay.
Later things had them as
Just want to make sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is a very thematic build, and you need to have a certain vision to pull it off. Some legions probably do this a little bit better than others, I feel, but I can't place my finger on it.
I would say Alpha Legion. Alpha Legion's pretty damn good. -2 inches to all of their shit that you're shooting.
Plus, there's shroud bombs that stacks to a -8.
To a -8. Yeah, I would say Alpha Legion plays there. But the thing is, so we haven't gotten to Alpha Legion. They have their own Rite of War, which plays a lot better than this, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, let's say your own Rites of War will be a very different feel, very different restrictions. But to some extent, they're meant for you, so they could be much more fitting. But I could see White Scars players maybe wanting something like this because, I fill my fast attack with a bunch of bikes. I still have my foot guys. You can still kind of get the feel of White Scars and what makes them fun because you can still load a lot of bikes in because that can be all of your fast. And then you get these, maybe they don't get your bonuses, but you have these other actually termed light units. So I think for fluff reasons, that would work very well. I'm just not big on
But yeah,
these guys.
definitely a fluff pick. Yeah, same. It's nice to have a unit or two of recons. More like one unit, but I mean, if you really like them, it's a route. All right, who wants to take Angel's Wrath?
I can go through that one. I think that's fine. Then we'll give Dan a different one afterwards. All right, so
Pride of the Legion.
Which one? I'm sorry. What are you trying to do?
I was going to say Pride.
Well,
I'm waiting for Pride.
You're going to talk before that because we're not waiting all that time for you to say something.
Oh, it's Pride. Oh,
we're going in order that they have it in the book. So Angel's Wrath is page 97. This is the same page as Legion Recon. So again, we're going through limitations first. So all models with the infantry unit subtype and detachment that uses Rite of War that do not have jump packs of any kind must begin the battle embarked on a model with the vehicle unit type and both the flyer and transport subtypes. So if you don't have a jump pack, you have to be on a flying transport of some sort. For flying transports, obviously there's Lord of ones like Stormbirds and things like that, but for non-Lords of War, it's Storm Eagle. Is there other ones?
And yeah, the Flying U. Shit. Cased Assault Ram.
Cased Assault Ram is
Legacies.
Legend?
Yeah, it's not in this.
Legacies, but it's still a flying transport.
True.
Still works.
Yes. That's why I wanted to clarify that it's not in the main book.
Yeah. There might be Lords of War, but I'm not too concerned with what they allow for the moment. All models that are both the infantry and jump pack of any kind in this detachment using this Rite of War must begin the battle in reserves, but must be assigned to the Deep Strike Assault as normal. So if you do have a jump pack, you have to start in reserves, and you must be Deep Strike Assault.
You may.
Oh, sorry, may. My apologies, may. You may be assigned to Deep Strike Assault. My apologies. A detachment using this Rite of War may not include any models with the vehicle unit subtype that do not also have the flyer subtype. An attachment using this Rite of War may not select any fortification choices. That's very common. You're not losing anything for the fortifications.
Hammerfall bunkers.
If you happen to own one. I don't know. I own very little terrain.
Good. So, not to derail, are they actually good? Because I remember the whole thing, like, people are like, oh, there's a 40K model and 30K. Are they like?
It's a Cyclone missile launcher and a Twin-linked heavy bolter for 120 points.
Can you at least put people in there?
No.
But it's a bunker.
Also, the way you use it is terrible because you deploy it after infiltrators, but you can't be close to infiltrators. And they call the rule area denial.
Yeah, its area is denied by your infiltrators. That's awful.
It's so bad.
All right.
But
All right, so Angels.
All right, Angel's Wrath. So we got flying units.
Yeah.
Only flying units, basically.
Yeah, pretty much
What do we got
flying.
for that?
Yeah, things that fly, and if you don't fly, you better be in something else that flies. So the effects are what you actually get if you fit this. To any units in detachment that are eligible to take a Legion Rhino transport as a dedicated can instead take a Storm Eagle gunship as a dedicated transport. For any models with a vehicle unit subtype and both that are flyers and transport subtypes from the detachment that uses Rite of War and that is in reserve, the controlling player may choose to automatically have them enter play at the start of their first turn without making a reserve roll. If they are not brought into play on turn 1, then reserve rolls are made for the models normally from turn 2 onwards. What is there a rule in the game? And this hasn't come up for me, so I might not have studied it enough. Is there a rule in the game that tells you how much stuff you have to start on the board? You have to have something, because otherwise you're technically tabled. No. Apparently no, because Drop Pod Assault wouldn't work that way.
Yeah. There used to be. I don't know if there's one now.
At the end of a turn, if you have nothing, I know you're tabled. So therefore you lose the game. Is that when it is? It's just end of game? Is that the only check?
I have no idea. It used to be, I think it was 50%. You have to have, you can only deep strike 50% of your
40,
army.
Yeah, there used to be a lot of those sort of rules of 50% and things like that. Is there a rule now?
I don't know.
I'm curious.
The only people I used to deep strike were custodies. I never deep struck Mechanicum or Alpha, and I never. Yeah, I have no idea actually.
I'm looking at deployment on page 304 of the main rule book. Taking a look to see if I see anything, and we can always cut a little bit of this if it takes a bit. I'm curious because that's a big thing. Like, can you? Some of the other ones specifically say like, don't deploy anything. Here's how you start showing up. Can you null deploy this one? It sounds like you can. Because if you can guarantee something comes in turn 1, sudden death. At the end of any game turn, one player has no models left on the battlefield. Their opponent automatically wins. So it's end of a turn or of a full game turn, end of a round, when you check that. But otherwise, I don't see anything in deployment that says you have to have something on the board. So,
Seen it either.
Yeah. So I would say, in my mind, then yeah, you could start with all the stuff off. You have your guys in jump packs in standard reserve or assault, deep strike assault if you want to do that instead. You can have some other units in your Storm Eagles and they come rolling on turn 1. You just need several Storm Eagles because this one doesn't change anyone's position. Whatever spot you were before, you're still in the same spot. So you can't necessarily do that. So your troops are still troops. So like if you want to take attack squad, they're going to have to take a Storm Eagle. And how many points is a Storm Eagle? What's a Storm Eagle? Where is he? 210 points.
Not terrible.
Not awful.
And they're not
points-wise, not terrible.
They're not terrible planes. I used to run Storm Eagles back when I played White Sky.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, yeah. No, I actually had 2 of them. I love them. 2 twin-linked las cannons, although I think that changed.
They start heavy bolters. They have a front twin-linked heavy bolter, a whole front-mounted vengeance lancer, and 4 Tempest rockets.
Yep.
They can get a
and
las
then you could
cannon
upgrade
for
the Tempest rocket to las cannon.
They can take 2 of them for 30.
Yep. And so I would give them. I'd take. Wait, is it a single shot las cannon or is it twin link las cannon?
Two full mounted twin link las cannons.
Oh, twin link. Yeah. So yeah, I would run them with the las cannons. They were excellent at punching vehicles. Because I would also upgrade the heavy bolter to a multi-melta. And I don't think I ever used the rocket battery. It was so shit. It was like strength 5, AP 5, 1 large blast, twin linked. But otherwise than that, no, I liked it. How was the transport capacity on that sucker?
22.
That's not. Yeah, it could hold bulky because I know some transports can't. Are there any restrictions to bulky?
It doesn't say.
Now, weird rules interaction question. Right. So we go to our troops choices, right? And look at the tactical squad, and it says a unit of no more than 10 may take a Legion Rhino as a transport.
Yeah.
does that mean that even though the Storm Eagle can carry 22, you could only take it for a 10-man unit because the Rhino option becomes a Storm Eagle option?
Essentially, but you would then fill it with Terminators.
What? No. If it's dedicated, that unit
Remember,
has to go
you
inside.
can't mix units. And you can't mix units in a transport unless it's super heavy.
Yeah. By rules, yes. Do I think it should be allowed? Yes. But by rules, yeah. And remember, Dan, it's
Talk to your opponent, talk to your EO.
And remember, Dan, it's the
Yeah.
dedicated. This lets them take it as dedicated. It doesn't stop you from taking Storm Eagles and putting other people in. But if it's dedicated, that unit has to start the game in it. It just lets you do it without the force.
And only that unit.
And that unit and only that unit. Plus, if they want like an
now
independent
you could still
character or
take one as fast. You could still take it as fast and load it up with 20 guys. But weirdly, not as a dedicated transport. Strictly going rules as written.
Yeah, that honestly it should just change.
There's also the Charybdis.
You can't take a Charybdis,
which is a heavy slot, but it does not count. Oh yes, it does. Yes, it does. It does work for the automatic arrival. So you could do that, and they could deep strike. Oh well, so could the Storm Eagle. That's interesting.
Yeah. And this Rite of War lets you take things that aren't infantry. If you're not infantry, you can go as per normal. You're allowed to take other stuff. But again, this is another one of the ones that to me feels very fluffy. If you're going to take it, you're probably taking it because you got a bunch of assault marines and you have, say, a Storm Eagle or some other sort of flying transport. And not that you're necessarily wanting to have like some contemptors hanging out in the field. You could, but I don't know. I feel this is much like some of the other ones that are almost null deploy style. That's what seems to fit this concept the best.
I just realized you could bring dreadnoughts perfectly normally, just deploy them on the table.
Yes, you can.
But you can't but you cannot have a Rhino or a Saber tank. But just a random dreadnought walking up, perfectly fine.
Yep.
Interesting.
All right, I think that probably gives us enough on that one. Some of these you might see, like the Recon one. Yeah, someone could run a bunch of scouts. I think you could see that one. Some of these other ones, you're not seeing Angel's Wrath unless someone's got some Storm Eagles and they just want to play with them. You could run it without it. You don't have to do it that way. There's options to run legal armies that would fit this without the Storm Eagles. But you're probably running it because you own like a Storm Eagle or two.
Or 10.
Oh god. No, I'm not gonna do that to myself and look up the price of them. Dan, why don't you talk about the Sky Hunter Phalanx?
As really quick, as someone who's built a Storm Eagle, absolutely not. Oh god, no. No, yes, they are.
Do they need like support
because the side it's not even it's the side, so it's a Storm Eagle kit. So you've seen the Storm Eagle, right? It's basically a Storm Eagle kit, but the sides are extended essentially. So, I mean, it's slightly different, obviously, but the sides are so warped, and then the top piece is warped, so nothing really clicks together. It's just I built one, and I think that was one of the main reasons I sold the White Scars because I said never again. I was so angry. All right, let's get to happy. Let's talk about Sky Hunter Phalanx. And I like this one a lot, too. This one, I think I used for my wife. No, I had my own one for my wife. But the limitations. Models with the vehicle unit type included in attachment using this Rite of War must have one of the following unit subtypes. It must be a flyer, a fast, or a skimmer. All units in the detachment using this Rite of War composed entirely of models with the infantry unit type must begin battle upon a model with both the flyer and transport subtypes, very much like we talked about before. A detachment using this Rite of War may not include any models with dreadnoughts. Pardon me. An allied attachment may not use this Rite of War, so it is not for allied. And a detachment using this Rite of War may not select any fortification choices for obvious reasons. So what do you get as a benefit? Well, Legion Skyhunter Squadrons and Legion Proteus Land Speeder Squadrons may be taken as troop choices in a detachment using this Rite of War. Notice that it's Legion Proteus Land Speeders and the Legion Skyhunter Squadrons, and we'll go over both of their statistics in like 5 seconds. And then any Legion Skyhunter Squadron selected as troops choice in this detachment using this Rite of War gain the line subtype. So, let's talk about Skyhunter squadrons and Land Speeder squadrons. What's really interesting is if you remember back in the last edition, they were what, Armor 10? They were awful. Well, I mean, they
They
had
were
their use.
vehicles. They had armor that could get ripped apart by a bolter.
Yeah, they
So
had
they
their
were
uses
very vulnerable.
though. Yes.
Ironically, the land speeders got more durable because now Meltas do a single wound out of the 3 they have instead of just instantly crumpling.
Since
but
you talk about, do you want to talk about their armaments? We want
yeah, I can talk about it real
Skyhunters or Land
fast.
Speeders?
So the Proteus land speeder, start with the bolt pistol, a chainsword, power armor, and a land speeder. The reason it says that is because the land speeder comes stock with a heavy bolter. It gives you all the different special rules and subtypes, and then you can switch out the weapons. You essentially have 2 weapons from the following list: Heavy Bolter, Heavy Flamer, Havoc Launcher, Multi-Melta, Volkite Culverin, Plasma Cannon, and Graviton. You could also take some Hunter Killer Missiles because you have a Chain Sword, and World Eaters, you could make that into a Chain Axe because, sure, why not? They Deep Strike, they're relentless. They're Harbingers of the Legion, which means they are never considered scoring and never considered denial either.
Wait,
But
hold on.
they can re-roll shrouded saves.
Yep. But if they gain line, does that mean they can't score?
No.
Skyhunter squadrons gain line.
Yeah, your land spears don't gain line.
Okay, got it. Okay,
they didn't screw it up
Sorry,
that bad.
I had a brain fart. Okay, I was like, wait a minute, hold on. Okay, woo.
Oh, yeah, they also get outflank and hit and run. Outflank, I mean, it's outflank reserves. That's all there is to that. But hit and run is a crazy one because after any round of combat, you could decide, you know what, I don't want to be here. You do a test, and then you get and then you get to go far, like really far.
Basically,
as in movement plus 2d6 far,
and they're move 16,
and they fly.
Welcome to White Scars. And then talk about the Skyhunters, might as well, because I feel like Skyhunters is what people use more often than not.
Yeah. Skyhunters, they're also really fast. They have 2 wounds each, which is nice, but only a 3-up save this edition. So a little squishier. They're also only toughness 4 compared to last edition. So squishier than they were, but not terrible. They get a bolt pistol, chainsword, power armor, and a Scimitar jet bike. That comes stock with the built-in heavy bolter. Their cavalry subtype, anti-grav. So is the land speeder, by the way. And then their unit leader, the sergeant, is also a character, which is nice. Relentless, Fine Protocols 2, which means they could shoot 2 weapons when they shoot. They get Hammer of Wrath, Hit and Run, and Deep Strike. They have a bunch of options like Vexillas, Nuncio Voxes.
Yeah.
Any model of the unit, this has changed from last edition, any model in the unit can replace the heavy bolter with the Volkite Culverin, a Multi-Melta, or a Plasma Cannon. These are very nice options. Any model can replace the bolt pistol with the Hand Flamer or Volkite Serpenta. Okay. And the Sergeant can replace the chainsword with a Power Weapon, Power Fist, or Lightning Claw. And the Sergeant can take Artificer Armor. It's a fairly decent unit, but it's lacking any kind of close combat punch, which is one of the things you would think you want when you have such a high movement value, and all these weapons have reasonable range, if not long range. So, bit of a mismatch between speed and range here, I feel. I feel like this unit would be a lot better if it had access to power weapons on all the guys, not just the Sergeant. Mm-hmm. But it's not a terrible unit. It's 105 points.
And it still has hit and
6
run.
wounds.
Yeah, it still has hit and run.
Yep.
Yeah, you have to be playing keep away with these guys.
And they are your scoring unit in this list. Otherwise, you need to get a unit that's going to be riding in a flyer.
Yeah, these guys.
Yep. I mean, to me, I look at this Rite of War, and it's like, this is going to come out meaner than what it sounds like, by the way, so bear with me here. It kind of sounds like White Scar Light, like Diet White Scars. Like, do you have a World Eaters oh my God. Do you have a World Eaters army and just are really craving to take jet bikes and also, flying chain axes in Storm Eagles, right? Then this is what you take, you know what I mean?
Yeah, this is another spot where they're allowed other options than Storm Eagles. But yeah, if you're infantry, you have to be in something that flies and can transport you. So Storm Eagle or Cessna's Assault Ram or one of the super heavies or something like that. But I've I haven't played for that long. Have you actually played anyone who's used this?
So I have once, and that's why I mentioned World Eaters. They use this, they load it up because this one doesn't have very much, and I remember 1.0 didn't have this restriction as well. They didn't have the restriction of like you can only take 10 people in a Storm Eagle. So they load it was 3 Storm Eagles with 20
Well, you think about that.
Oh my god.
Remember,
It was hold on. It was just 20.
spoilers.
It was 20 chain axes in each one.
Mind,
one of them contained his Praetor.
Storm Eagles aren't limited to 10. It's if in the last one you are replacing your dedicated, and to have a Rhino dedicated with 10. But if you just get a Storm Eagle, because notice this one doesn't make it dedicated. You just have to be in one. You fit 22 either way.
Exactly. So he took his Storm Eagle as the fast attack. He took his Sky and the spoilers were I can't remember what it was, and then he took Sky Hunters as his troops. And essentially what he used the Sky Hunters as was this very quick harassing unit that would kind of whittle away the squads. And or he had a multi-melta unit that would take away tanks. And then the Storm Eagles would come on, and because they're assault vehicles, they would come on, they would fly around a little bit, then they would land, the World Leaders would come out, and then assault, and it would be horrible. But it works well. Like, it's not a bad rite of war.
And land speeders are good.
Yeah.
If you put the right armament on them and you're careful with them, they can be quite good.
I've seen land speeders outflank. Well, now it's outflanking reserve assault. Sorry, whatever it's called. But I've seen land speeders come in from the side of the board and just completely decimate an entire tank squad, just from how they are positioned.
Of the ones we've talked about so far, this one to me feels like you can. You have to have the right things for it. Like, if you're just starting out, you literally have nothing for this rite of war whatsoever. But this one feels like you can make a good, I don't mean competitive as you can take it to some tournament and win, but competitive is like you can face other people and you're going to have a fairly good chance and a good day with it. I feel you absolutely could. Where some of the other ones that we talked about so far, the Recon maybe, but this one I feel you could actually have a decent army out of. Although nothing you currently possess, if you've just started buying into the plastics, is going to help you. Yeah, can't even include your dreadnoughts, nothing. That I think.
So this is not one.
That's what I've realized. I mean, actually, no. We'll save that for thoughts at the end. But yeah, some of these, if this wasn't the army you designed or had designed, you're just not running a lot of these. Are we good on Sky Hunters for the moment then?
Okay. Yeah, that was it. It's very quick.
All right. Anyone in particular want to do drop? Well, Dan wanted to wait for Pride of the Legion. Steve, you're going to do the Underworld Assault. So I can take Drop Pod then, I guess?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'm going to take the Drop Pod.
We'll go through what it talks about in Drop Pod Assault, and then we will discuss what the actual Drop Pod Assault is. So the Rite of War itself is on page 98, and page 99 is essentially all the rules you need to actually do this. So, again, we'll start with limitations, nice and simple. All units in the detachment that use this Rite of War selected with the Legion, all units in the detachment using this Rite of War selected with Legion drop pods, Legion Dreadnought drop pods, or Legion Dreadcall drop pods as dedicated transports must be deployed by means of a drop pod assault. So if you have a drop pod, you have to do drop pod assault. You do not have a choice. The detachment used with the Rite of War cannot take any fortifications. You're losing nothing. Any model selected as part of the detachment that do not have one of these forms of drop pod as a dedicated or are embarked on a Legion Charybdis Assault Claw must be placed in reserve and cannot take part in any alternate deployments, such as Deep Strike Assault or flanking assaults. So remember, general reserves, if you're not doing any of the other special forms you come in from the board, it's normal reserve rolls and you walk on from your board edge. So if you're in a drop pod, your drop pod assault. If you are not in any form of drop pod or a Charybdis, then you have to walk on. All units in the detachment using this Rite of War, so this is the effect, all units in this detachment using this Rite of War, eligible to take a Legion Rhino transport or a Land Raider Proteus carrier dedicated transport, may instead select Legion drop pods or Legion Dreadcall drop pods as dedicated transports. When taken as part of a detachment using this Rite of War, any units composed of models with the Dreadnought unit type must be either given a Dreadcall or a Dreadnought drop pod as dedicated transports and may not be selected in units of more than one model. Meaning the first line, so all units they're eligible to. Yeah, I guess still technically falls that thing of you're not
What feels
eligible
like
if you're over
limitation to
10
me.
technically as the dedicated. So yeah, we saw that same problem. So, if you're a dreadnought, you have to take a drop pod of some sort. If you are not, if you're in other words, if you're infantry and we're able to take a Rhino or a Proteus, then you may take a drop pod. If you have one, you have to start in drop pod assault. Otherwise, you have to walk on from the board. So this is another one where you're going to start with nothing on the board. Anything about that before we get into the drop pod assault, how it actually works?
Yeah. Interestingly, this one for limitations is softer because you can actually take all the unit types without limitation. It's just they have to be in reserve if they're not in a drop
Yeah.
pod, which isn't terrible. I would say I love it, but it's not terrible. So you could do a drop pod assault army where it's not literally every last model is riding in a drop pod. Unlike, say, Angel's Wrath, where everything was almost absolutely in a Storm Eagle. And as a bonus, standard drop pods are plastic, which is always nice.
This is at least something where the main box might not have what you need, but you could start with it, get some drop pods, and you still have some play. You could still make this thing work. Though you don't have to start with everything in a drop pod. You probably still want quite a few things, though, because your normal reserves, if everything else is normal reserves, they're starting to roll on turn 2 the other items, which means if you get, shellacked turn 1 with the drop pods you bring down, you got nothing left, the game is over. So you're going to be bringing at least several things. Yeah.
Very true. And you're probably going to want to go second.
Oh, yes.
In order to take out that one round of shooting your opponent's going to get.
Yeah. There's several of these. This one, as well as when we talked about Angel's Wrath, those are both where I think you absolutely want to be going second. It is much better for you if you do. Let your opponent either do nothing and reposition. That's still fine. All right, let's go through how drop pod assaults work. Chime in if I miss anything here, because it's a giant wall text. I don't want to read it verbatim, but I will make sure to read the parts that are important and paraphrase as needed.
Actually, not as hard. I'll point out it's not as hard as the wall of text. Like once you play it, once you understand it, it's really not as bad.
Subterranean Assault, for all intents and purposes, is very similar to when you get to it. It's a different mode and different type, but some of the basics are all here. All the reserve styles, other than you walk from the board edge, essentially the outflank or deep strike assault and all of those have a lot of similarities. The biggest changes a lot of times is when you come in. So it says, before the start of your first turn, when you're placing units in reserve, if you're using this right award, you have to assign all of your, essentially anything that looks like a drop pod or a Scribs' Assault Claw, to do drop pod assaults. They enter control the starting control of the player's first turn. So this is one of the ways you can come down first turn. Normally, and no reserves can. This is the way you can do that. And then they tell you essentially you have all these together. You place one of them somewhere on the battlefield that's 1 inch away from enemy models, edges, or a piece of impassable terrain, and then you scatter. Drop pods have, which one is the rule that makes them where they don't just like inertial guidance?
Inertial guidance system.
Yeah, because they're not going to run off the board or destroy themselves or anything like that. Like it's safe. Drop pods are always safe. So if the final position is within 1 inch of an entity model, battlefield edge, or a piece of impassable terrain, then the controlling player's opponent can move it 18 inches anywhere they want that's more than 1 inch away. Can't do impassable, can't do anything like that. You have to allow the models to be able to disembark unless there is no such position. So your enemy can't put you in between a bunch of impassable terrain that doesn't let you out unless that's literally the only spot you could go. So it is forgiving. You can be hurt if you mess this up, but you can't be screwed over. Once the first one has been deployed, you roll a die. On a 1, it's disordered. So all the other ones come in, your opponent puts them in within 24 inches without scattering. Although, again, it's the same sort of things. You can't be put within 1 inch of an enemy model or impassable terrain. If it's a 2 or higher, You put them anywhere you want within 24 inches. Same restriction. You can't put them in essentially in contact or combat with someone. And again, you have to put them in a position where they are allowed to get out unless there is no such position on your board. If you're going to play this, make sure there's space on the board to put stuff down. Don't play so choked out where you're never going to fit any of your models.
One thing to note with the being disordered, if everything's in a drop pod with an inertial guidance system, which should theoretically be everything, you get to re-roll that die.
Oh, you do? Nice. I did not realize that. I don't want to drop pod right now.
You scatter half the distance, and you can re-roll the die to see if it's orderly or disorderly, which is really great when people start bringing, without spoiling too much, anti-deep strike defenses.
No, what? No. Oh, that's not.
Yeah, it literally talks about it shortly thereafter what you can do here. So, once you bring these down, if your enemy has one or more of the models within 6 inches of any of them, they have to take a pinning test. Once the pinning is done, then your models get out. They follow all normal rules for disembarking. If you can't disembark, then any of those models that can't get out are considered casualties. So once you've done all this, then any enemy models that are neither pinned back or falling and can see can choose to do the intercept reaction. So here's my question. And I saw this posted somewhere else as well. Is it one unit intercepts or is it intercept reaction? Anyone who can see gets to do this.
No, so it's one intercept. So I did ask this, and I that's funny. I had the same exact question. I saw posted
a bunch of places.
So you are, yes. So it is one intercept reaction because you can only do one reaction of the same a turn, right? So I can't do multiple.
Patently false.
No, you can't intercept with everyone.
Yes, you can. It's called an augury scanner.
Oh, well, no, I'll get to that.
So, hold on. Well, the way you led into that, though, was very misleading.
Well, I was going to say, you got to let me finish.
So, when someone deep strikes, you gain access to the advanced reaction called, any kind of reserve. Someone goes on for reserves, you may make the interceptor reaction against them. Essentially, you shoot them. If you have an augury scanner or other special rule or war gear that allows you to do it,
by the way,
you can shoot them and not even use up your reaction points.
Yes. So to answer your question, Dave, if you do not have an augury scanner, one squad may do the intercept reaction because you can't repeat an intercept. If you have squad,
if you have two movement phase reactions.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, if you have two movement phase reactions. If you have an augury scanner, you can technically do it multiple times because the augury scanner very specifically does not count towards the reaction.
And it breaks the standard rule of 3 reactions in a phase period.
Yes. It does.
That's the big thing. Otherwise, normally you could only do it 3 if you happen to have 3 in the movement phase. Augury scanner lets you do it on any that have augury scanners, plus additional if you have the spare reactions to spend.
Exactly.
So once they've been...
And it's important to note for this rite of war, you could shoot the drop pod or the guys inside. Both are viable targets. That's not the same for every one of these. So there's something to note.
Yeah, I was going to say, because I think the Anvil... Oh, God. What's the big boy drop pod? The Dreadclaw, right? Because the Dreadclaw doesn't have to disembark if it doesn't want to.
Correct.
Yes, okay.
The Dreadclaw and the Charybdis, neither of them.
Charybdis, that's the other one. Thank you.
Yeah, but earlier it says for all of those they must disembark following the normal rules for disembarking. So they specifically say you don't have to get out because this says they have to get out. Yeah, this says they must disembark following all the normal rules for disembarking.
So then I'm gonna say that if you're in the assault, you have to. But if you're deep striking not part of the drop pod assault, you don't have.
Okay, that makes sense.
That makes sense. But then you're risking, the reserve rolls as usual.
Yeah. What normally allows you not to get out of the drop pod?
Okay.
It's a flyer.
Oh, okay.
It's a flyer.
It's not a drop and pod.
Yeah. So once the drop pod lands, it doesn't move. It's basically a piece of terrain at that point with a bolter on it. The Charybdis and the Dreadclaw, Dave, still fly around. Like they're
straight up flyers.
Yeah, they're straight flyers.
Got it. Yeah, but if you do it this way, you will have to get out. All right. Once all that's done, so
yes,
you've deployed, intercepts are done. The turn goes on as normal. They may not move or run in the same turn that they deployed, but they can shoot as normal. The assault phase, only models with the transport subtype with the assault rule may declare, like the Charybdis. Charybdis is an assault vehicle, so if you came out of Charybdis, you're allowed to assault. Otherwise, you can't assault. Yeah. So
Which makes
essentially, you
sense.
have your drop pods. They come in turn one. You get to place one down, scatter it. If we're
In the distance.
yes,
With the inertial
yeah,
guidance
on a
system.
lessened distance, but you'll do your scatters. If where you land is okay, you get to place everything within 24. If not, your opponent does. They can't try to screw you up too hard in terms of placing it somewhere where everyone's going to die coming out. Anyone within 6, you try to pin them. Either way, afterwards, you step out, and they can attempt to intercept you then. Otherwise, then you continue as per normal.
Other things to note, only interceptors can be made, so you can't do, for example, what was it, the Space Wolf one, where you finish a move, you get charged. Not an option, because it's not interceptor. It's literally only interceptor that's allowed against these units.
Yes. It's the only one that you can actually do. I mean, this gives you a lot of, options, because you don't have to put everything in a drop pod. I mean, everything else has to start as reserve, so you're going to need several things in drop pods, but it's not going to force you on everything. It's not stopping you from taking other vehicles or anything like that. But, I mean, I know at one point, a different edition of 40K, I forget which one, but I used to see this where people would do drop pod assault, and these were guys with like 10 drop pods, and that was their army. To me, yeah, this fits if you want to take tons of drop pods.
Yes. And to be fair, that it's not going to break the game or anything. And in my opinion, that's actually one of the more cooler armies to look at.
It's visually fantastic.
Visually to see fucking 10. Well, no, because you could only. Is it? Wait, shit. Now I got to look at the rule again. Is it you put all on the table or half? Because before it used to be half.
It's not half.
All of them.
Oh Jesus! Yeah. Because back in the day, it used to be only half.
Yeah, there's more.
So if you had 10, only 5 would come in. But no, yeah, to see 10 fucking drop pods screech down onto the battlefield that's straight up. I don't even care if I lose. That's just a really, really cool thing to watch. Especially because, for those who don't know, if you want a cheap way to kind of heresy up your drop pods, and this is courtesy of my friend Brett, what you do is I don't know what to call them, the spinal columns.
The fins on backwards.
Right? Yeah, so you put the fins, so if you look at a drop pod picture, right, you have these spinal fins that kind of that go up, right, that stick out and go up. If you take those and you flip them upside down, so you put them backwards, like you could literally face them downward, you basically have now made a what are those? They're chaos.
It's the poor man's Dreadclaw.
It's the poor man's Dreadclaw, exactly. And I mean, you could probably Google how to do it. You have to shave some nubbins, but it's a really stupid, easy conversion, and it looks really, 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 really cool. Because it looks Heresy-like.
30K drop pods not look like drop pods?
No,
they do. It's a perfectly normal drop pod.
So you don't have to do anything like you just use a drop pod.
No, but they look like I don't know how. Here, let me.
It changes up the aesthetics in a way that is like, oh yes, this looks like a Heresy.
Drop pod.
So I gave you a link, Dave, if you really want a quick look at it. But it just take 5 seconds. It looks different.
The main reason
it looks like a Dreadclaw.
Because back in the day, this Chaos armies had the Dreadclaw, and the understanding was that tech that Chaos Marines had access to was all Heresy era tech. So since they didn't have a normal drop pod, they didn't have the Dreadclaw, people figured, the normal drop pod must, not be kosher, so I'm going to convert my regular drop pod into a Dreadclaw. Turns out normal drop pods are totally fine, but the conversion idea still hung around, and it kind of has like that visual
appeal to it.
Yeah.
Okay. It works. I'm not saying don't buy drop pods and go crazy and go crazy on conversions, but it's just if you're looking at something that you want to do like a little different.
I'll have it posted up on the YouTube.
Easily
the
just
picture you sent and all. It looks fine. I have no problem with that, but I also have no problem with the normal drop pod then. But yeah, okay.
Exactly. No, it's just different. I put it this way for people who are listening: if you literally Google drop pod, I put it one word. I don't know if it's one word or not, but I put drop pod one word with fins down, and you could literally just someone painted Iron Warriors. Someone has a really cool World Leaders one. But yeah, no, it's just it's just another way to kind of do it if you want. And it just looks cool, in my opinion.
Again, it's neat. I don't have a problem with the normal drop pod, except I do remember the time I put one together. It was a pain to literally do, but that was a long time. That was when I had Blood Angels. That was my first army. So we're going back like 5th edition. So at the time in 5th edition, it was a pain. Maybe now that I've hobbied more and, don't paint like garbage and assemble terribly, maybe it'd be much easier. All right. That seems like we're pretty good on drop pods. This is another one where out of the base set, you can get some distance from it or with it. Not perfectly, but if you get some drop pods, you can make this work. All right, Dan, you were chomping at the bit to do Pride of the Legion. Let's see if you do it justice.
Oh yeah. Well, it's most because it's thick boys. Cause I love my thick boys. I mean, it's me. Anything on a 40 mil base is only what I play. 32 mil base is for people who don't play manly armies. No. All right, Pride of the Legion. So limitations first. An army whose primary detachment is using this right may not select the ally detachment. Makes kind of a lot of sense because you are the Pride of the Legion. Why are you using allies? A detachment using this right of war may only select a single heavy support choice and a single fast attack choice. To people who asked me this question before, this is a very easy quick, because some people are like, oh, that means only one. If you buy a squadron, you can only have one. No. It's single heavy support choice. So I think Kratos can go in squadrons of two. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yes, you could have 2 Kratos as long as you purchase them as
same thing like
one heavy
Leviathan.
support
Leviathan
choice in the
is a
squadron.
Talon. You can have 2 total in it.
Exactly. It's just people always kind of sometimes get that wrong. So it's just an allied detachment may not use this right of war. Again, you may not have fortification choices. Shocking. We'll get to the one that has fortifications, I swear. An army using this right of war may not include more non-infantry units than it does infantry units. So this one kind of spams infantry. So that seems like a lot of limitations. So what do you get as a benefit? Well, all your Legion veteran squads, Legion Terminator Cataphracti squads, and Legion Tartaros squads may be selected as troop choices in this detachment using this right of war, and they gain the line subtype.
Read the whole thing.
As long as they're taking its
only the compulsory selection.
Let me finish my sentence.
Start with the part that matters.
I said if they are only taking. Well, oh my god!
Restriction first. The hard part first. The part that makes you cry comes first.
Choices, they get line.
You were not going to say that.
Which means in Zone Mortalis, you're only getting one that's line, by the way. Because Zone Mortalis requires one compulsory.
Because it requires one. That's right. It changes up the pattern. Any unit composed entirely of models with either Cataphracti Terminator, Tartar Sauce Terminator armor, or any other pattern Terminator that is normally selected as an elite choice may be included in this attachment using this right of war as a troop choice. Which I'll get to in a moment, by the way, because I wanted to ask a question about that. Because someone asked me, and I didn't know the answer. So, the basic drill of this is your Legion Cataphracti, Terminator, Tartar Sauce squads, and veteran squads all get selected as troop choices, and the compulsory troop ones become line. Quick question about that third bullet point. It says that Cataphracti, Tartaros Terminator armor, or any other pattern of Terminator armor that is normally selected as an elite choice.
That'd be Gorgons.
Does that also include Indomitus?
Indomitus are troops.
Yeah.
No.
If they were elites,
nope,
it would count. So as long as it counts as a Terminator armor, it works. But yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know Indomitus were troops. I thought they were still elites.
Indomitus are non-compulsory only troops.
That's such a... Okay.
And they're not line.
Yes. That's weird. Okay, then never mind. Ignore that. Okay, because that was literally what I was thinking. Like, wait, does that include Indomitus?
What this also covers is any of... So as we've been going through these legions, most legions have a special Terminator squad of some sort. In those squads, they are all in a
Mm-hmm.
Terminator type of armor. So they can all then be taken as troops. They can't be made scoring or anything like that, but they can be troops. It's a
Wait a
distinction
minute.
I saw that's important to make because this came up in I don't know, I'm in like 2 to 3 dozen heresy groups at this point. And in some of them, people are talking about, they're like, okay, it says Terminator armor, it says Cataphracti armor. Well, no, it says a unit. So like notice the other one, it says Legion Terminator Cataphracti squads in the main effect. That means the squad that you're picking out from your troop choice. That does not mean guys in Cataphracti armor. The last line is what makes that allowance. So if you're seeing something that says, a Legion Terminator Cataphracti squad, that is the one of your elite choice. That is essentially nothing else in the book. When it says a unit of models wearing this type of armor, that's what opens it up. This is one of the few spots that I've seen that, but it's an important distinction to make.
So spicy time. Are you ready for
I
spicy?
do terrible with spice.
No. There is a special unit there is a specialized Terminator unit that has native line. Natively.
Oh, we know.
Yeah, but they already have line.
Yes. So does this mean you could take 6 squads of Lernaean Terminators as troops?
It means you could take
True.
10 squads of Leernans, 6 as troops, and 4 as elites.
BRB, I'm just checking points real quick.
You wrote this army list 2 months ago.
I didn't realize. No, what's funny is when I wrote it, I didn't realize that this Rite of War included that. I did it as a normal. I think it was Headseekers actually, because Headseekers made the Headseekers troops, right? So now I had line in my elite and I had line in my troop slot, right? It was both. I double dipped, but.
If you're running basic rule missions, I'm not so concerned about line. I'm not saying don't have any. Have some, but I don't care about having tons and tons of line.
No,
I think that's kind of a waste.
By the way, so far out of the how many Mechanicum games have I played so far? 8, 9? And one of those has been a major game. Out of the 8 or 9 games and one game that was like 2,500 points, I still have not had line in one of my army lists, because Myrmidons become troops, not line, unless they're near a Thanatar, which I don't own. And I have been doing just fine.
So Lernaeans are 250 points base for 5 guys. You could technically run 10. So that'd be 2,500 points in just those guys. But that's nothing else special. That's them at their base. I mean, they have some special rules and all, don't get me wrong. They have some extras, but they don't have special rules. So.
Yeah. This rule is just +1 a hit, basically, on a selected legion. But that's all it is.
Okay.
It's still funny. I still funny that when I read that, I was like, wait a minute, hold the phone.
See, you're proving why we do limitations first, so that way we can make sure we get through the bad and then get to the good.
Yeah. So is that the only? Yeah, is that the only elite Terminator with line in the whole?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Nice. That's hilarious. I'll talk to Brian about that, because I know Brian really likes his Lernaeans, right?
He has to like them,
but he's running
because it's like 30 of them.
Tell him about it.
He's running.
Just send him the link to this video.
Yeah, he's running the Headseeker one. He's running
what you were going to play. So he's kind of in for a penny, in for a pound.
Exactly.
Yeah. Whether or not he wanted to, that's what he's playing for the moment.
That is true. This is a good Rite of War. I should point out this, because someone actually did bring this up. If you want to run this Rite of War, this actually works because I know you mentioned the starter box before, Dave. This works really well with the starter box, because you can. It comes with 40 Marines, right? 40 Marines. I know John has done this before. One of our friends, John, he likes running Pride of Legion because you could take those 10-man tactical squads and turn them into 10-man veteran squads. And now you have more kind of bang for your buck, because you could kind of customize them ish. And I believe they're 2 wounds each as well. So you kind of get more, bang for your buck was kind of what I was going for right there. So just really, this works well with the starter box if you want.
Your starter box comes with 10 cataphracti, so you could throw them in, you could make them line as well. And you only have,
Oh yeah.
you know, your Spartan in there could either be heavy support or dedicated. Keep in mind also, for anyone who's new to this, you select one heavy support choice. If it take it as a dedicated, it doesn't take up the force org. So like say your Spartan, if you take your Spartan
No, it does
with
not.
your Terminators, it doesn't count as heavy, so you could throw an extra. When I was waiting on GW, they finally did send the order that we've been waiting from 5 minutes after the first pre-orders ever occurred for my Mark IIIs. Where I was trying to wait on those guys, I was like, all right, I don't have like troop squads. I don't have anything. Okay. Oh, I can do Pride of the Legion. So I ran this a bunch because that was about the option I had. And then once I had, something else in heavy, okay, well, hey, I can still do it because I can take this as dedicated. Now at least I can kind of build up an army. Now, oddly enough, they sent us the Mark IIIs, although I've built up enough other stuff, so I don't know what I'm going to do with those guys yet. And they miscast one of my dice.
Breacher.
Yeah,
Yes,
one of my dice, I
did
realized
send
it
that
looks like it has
email
a
immediately.
bite taken out of it. It's on the one side, so it's not even like it would
So weird.
absolutely shouldn't play with it anyway because the die is off. But also, it's even off in a way that would absolutely means it rolls better. As soon as I caught that in today's learning game, I was like, all right, well, I guess you're over here. I've never actually had that sort of problem with dice before where I needed to check them first.
I've never, I'll be honest, in all my years of purchasing dice,
Oh, yeah.
because I purchased
Like a
GW dice
madman.
for because I like to match my armies. I have never had a
No.
miscast dice. So it's
Yeah,
so
it's like
weird
just the
to
one
see.
corner, and it's not like a tiny little bit.
It's such an
It's a
obvious fashion
sizable
too.
chunk. It's like flattened out.
Yeah, no, it's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird. I was kind of laughing at how oddly how did that pass in spam? Whatever, whatever. I emailed them. I'm hoping you get either a new dice or a
They
new
just send
packet.
packs, and that's absolutely fine. I
A
mean,
new
hey,
pack.
I finally got the stuff. I got plenty of
Yeah.
things to keep me busy, but just more bringing that up. So for thoughts right now on this very quickly, we'll get into more of this when we kind of see them all. Pride of the Legion, I absolutely loved the idea of, because when we get to Dark Angels, we'll probably do them. Well, you're going to do those soon because they mimic a good amount of these with, hey, here's how we're different. Because a lot of people are like, oh, I'm kind of down on the Dark Angels one, this other thing. And I've actually, as I've played more and more, I kind of really like the Dark Angels one. And I've liked this one a little bit less, somewhat because of the restrictions.
Surprising. Shit, I kind of want to hear. Damn, now I kind of want to hear your opinions because all I've heard. Well, then that's to be fair because I've heard the doom and gloom about Mechanicum, and I just rolled my eyes to the back of my head. But all I've heard of Dark Angels was doom and gloom about their rights, specifically
Unbroken Vow.
the one you were their version of Pride. Yeah,
I'll
very
take a
curious
quick
now to
1
hear what you
minute
have to say. But
aside
damn,
to
okay,
talk about this. We'll talk about more when we get to that, but I'll take a
yeah,
real quick
if you
1
don't
minute aside.
mind, because now
So there's a really big downside on that one. The big downside is I put an objective in the middle of the board as close as possible. If there's already one there, just count that one for both. That we don't have to have 2 tokens down there. If I do not have the objective at the end of the game, you get a victory point. If you have the objective at the end of the game, you get D3. So essentially, I better be taking that point or I'm giving up points. The bonus you get from it is that you can take some things as troops. You don't get line, but you're not restricted on your heavy, fast, or anything like that, like this one does. For me, that fits well because I've run a lot of heavy support because that's a lot of what they put in plastic. And so they put in plastic, that's what I got. The other part is it gives you an extra attack if for independent characters that are Deathwing. So you'll be taking them as Deathwing, but that's okay. They'll get an extra attack when they're within 12 inches. 12 inches of objective. And you can get some Heart of Legion on some guys. The Heart of Legion hasn't really mattered so much, although I don't run apothecaries. If I did, maybe I care more. But the extra attack on more than one occasion has absolutely made the difference in a fight. Now, I will say I've played this where one time there was no additional objectives, a couple times there were. Out of book missions, I understand people not necessarily liking it as much. But if you run with missions that have objectives come up more often, especially progressive scoring, which is a much more fun way to play games, I think, then it starts becoming exceptionally powerful. Because right now I've had it where that's what has won me the game is having that extra attack, and I have a sword, which means I hit it, +1 weapon, essentially +1 to hit as well. So I'm getting more attacks. I'm hitting better against equals. So I'm able to push through the damage I need to win combat or kill off contemptors, whatever it may be. So far I've liked it. I haven't played it in a really big game. I might feel different when we play really big, but I will say this one really restricts you in really big games. Having only one heavy support means your things that really might fill out your army, you're very, very limited on them. So I still like it. Don't get me wrong. It's good. And as I build up veterans, I might enjoy it more. But as someone right now who's just more talking about, like, say, from Cataphractic Terminator style, I'm not as huge on it as I originally thought I would be. But when we do Dark Angels, probably very, very soon, we will get more into that because we have to do them as soon as we can because they mimic a lot of this and we don't want to forget it all. Steve, you got the Underworld.
Well, yeah.
I don't know why you don't run this.
Underworld Assault. This is probably not my favorite Rite of War, but it uses one of my favorite models. So, limitations. All infantry that do not have a version of the bulky special rule in the detachment there's Rite of War must begin battle embarked on a Legion Termite Assault drill. So basically, unless you're a Terminator or a Jump Pack, if you're infantry, you're in a drill. You cannot select any fortification choices. Sure, whatever. But any models that are not inside Termite Assault drills or embarked on a drill, they cannot be placed into reserve and cannot use any altered deployments. So no deep strikes, no outflanks, etc. What do you gain for this? All units that can take a Rhino can instead take an assault drill. You could take assault drills as additional fast attack and heavy support choices, so that units that don't have a Rhino dedicated transport can still hop into one of these guys, or if you just needed extra drills for fun. And finally, all units that begin play on the battlefield and not in reserve gain the stubborn special rule until the subterranean assault arrives. So, subterranean assaults. How do they work? Before the first turn, you assign all units with the subterranean assault special rule into an assault. You roll 1 die for all of them, like other assaults, and you place down the first model and you scatter it as normal. As before with the drop pods, if you land on an enemy model or impassable or table edge, your opponent can adjust the position of the model up to 18 inches. And then you roll to see if it is an ordered or a disordered assault. On a 2 or higher, you're good, and you could place the other drills within 12 inches. Otherwise, if you roll the 1, your opponent places it. Once everyone's been deployed, any enemy units with 1 or more models within 6 inches of a drill suffer D6 plus 3 strength 6 AP 4 hits. These will not cause morale checks, and they will not cause pinning checks. Once these hits are all resolved, units are not pinned or falling back and have line of sight may choose to make interceptor reactions, targeting any one of the units deployed throughout subterranean assault. You can only do interceptors against them. Now, here's the big difference between a subterranean assault and a drop pod assault. You don't get out of the drill as part of the assault.
Yeah.
You can stay right in that sucker. But let's say you do want to get out of your assault. Your drill. I have good news. After the enemy's done all their interceptor reactions, you can take your drills and you can move your drills with their movement values. If you go half speed, the guys inside can disembark. If you're an assault vehicle, you can even charge afterwards, but termite assault drills are not assault vehicles. I assume
I'm
that's
actually
just
checking the
future-proofing.
Mechanicum.
Yeah,
I think the
please
only
do.
assault vehicle that's subterranean is the Mechanicum one, which is weird. I'm checking that one right now.
Well,
I
Steve
have
can
to
keep
find
going while
it,
you
though.
look.
But yeah, I mean that's the rule. So you deep strike, the rest come in. You do a bunch of basically, for lack of a better term, impact damages on arrival, and then if you want, you can move the tank and disembark from the tank. Now, what's really nice is that these things are going to keep crawling around turn after turn. And they actually have a decent offensive profile because they have melta cutters in the front, which are essentially it's a 3-shot melta gun, but only half the range. So 6-inch long, 3-inch for half melta. And they also get 2 combi bolters, which they could upgrade to Volkites or heavy flamers. The fact that you can't intercept the guys that are inside the vehicles, I feel is one of the strong points of this Rite of War, because it gets you on the table.
Because as a vehicle,
safely.
It's front 12, side 12, rear 10. So as long as you're facing correctly, there's a lot of weapons that just aren't really hurting you.
Yup. And then after you deep strike with your flanks protected, guess what you get to do? You get to move. So you could turn to face the direction you want to do damage in afterwards. Being able to move afterwards is so great. You just get to be the Underminer from the Incredibles, and it's incredible. This special rule is something you get for your drills, even if you aren't doing the Rite of War. So Breacher squads and Mortalis destroyers can take drills as standard.
By the way, no. It has subterranean assault, but it's not an assault vehicle. Weird. Okay.
That's a shame.
Well, I mean, it's
Let's
also
talk about drop pods and modeling for a little bit. I'll make a quick mention. There are lots of third-party underground drill assault vehicle options on the market. To get the footprint of the vehicle approximately right, use an Imperial Knight base. It's pretty close to the outline of the actual Forge Roll tank.
Really?
No.
Yep.
No,
it's
that thing is way
not
too big. Hold on. No.
It's about half an inch longer. And that's only
if you
because it
look
gets
at-
pointy at the ends of the oval.
Yeah.
It's significantly bigger than the 120
Okay.
oval. It's actually the Imperial Knight
Yeah.
base.
Yeah,
That's
If you look at its
not-
pictures on Forge
Oh,
World, you can see
okay.
it next to some Mechanothralls.
The Ursarax, yeah.
Those are Ursarax, those guys? Those
Yeah,
aren't
the
claws, they're
guys with the
holding
claws
guns.
are the Ursarax.
Which
Technothralls, yeah. So
Oh,
Technothralls.
yeah, the Technothralls
It's like
are the
4 or 5 of them long. Yeah, it's not nearly as big. It looks big when they put it separate because you can't tell the size, but when they put it next to models, it's
Yeah.
it's not nearly as huge as you look. They show you the base. It's probably like 3 of his bases wide.
You know what?
it's
confused me?
it's
You know,
bigger than you
confusing me
think.
because it reminds me of like the Ordinatus, the Olinator or Oliter. So I think it's that big. You know what I mean? Because that thing is massive. Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
The Termite is about the size of an Imperial Knight base, and then it's about, I want to say, 2 inches tall.
Then the
2.5 inches
Oliter's
tall.
not that big either because I can see the models on there. Oh, that's okay.
It's tall more than it's.
Well, it's tall. I'll give you that,
Yeah.
but okay, neat.
So
neat.
the downside to this one is you also have to own this model or a proxy of this model. Because, yes.
And a lot of it. Because
unless
all
they're
your
bulky. So if you want to take
must
some
be on board.
Terminators or guys in jump packs or anything like that, then they don't have to. But if you're not bulky, you got to go in. It's the kind of thing where, again, you probably wouldn't run this for like a assault drill. Like, why? But if you wanted to run, say, 2 or some small amount of them, you could get by as long as you have the way to build your army correctly for it. Yeah, because anyone else who's not in one, they can't go into reserves. They start on the board, but they also get stubborn until the drills show up. So, it's restrictive if you want to run non-bulky infantry. So,
another thing just to be careful with is that 12-inch range is a lot smaller than the drop pod assault 24-inch range. So we end up very tightly grouped together. So I would advocate not going every single unit in a drill because you'll eventually just run out of space to put them. Because they're just that big of a model.
This one feels like it would be good with, say, 2 to 3. You can take some of the units you want. And the only sort of thing I would say with this, though, is for what you want to put in the drill, you want to put a unit that's going to be good coming out of the drill, which is not your tac squads, but you absolutely need troops, which to me, it makes it feel like you're probably taking assault squads because you need someone to be bulky. Because the last thing you want is for 3 drills to have 2 of them filled with like tac squads. I mean, if you're taking what is it, despoilers or whatever, something else that's good, but they're not assaults. You're also not necessarily you're not assaulting out of them. So
This is really good
yes,
with Legion support squads because it gets them delivered. Veteran squads can also
Yep.
take it stock. So veterans, breachers, and Mortalis
Yes.
destroyers can all take it stock. Outside the Rite of War. And those are the units that most benefit from it. And then there's some Legion specifics that absolutely love these. Pyroclasts come to mind.
Oh yes. Okay. Yeah. If we're talking about specific legions, pyroclasts, 100%.
Basically, it's units that have a good, strong shooting punch, but at a short range. Those are the ones that most capitalize on the drills. Because you get the deep strike, and then you get to drive 4 inches, and then you get to walk out the door 7 more inches.
I would say the one thing you have to be careful of is what troop do you want to take?
Death Guard could pull it off with Tactical Marines too, since it counted stationary.
Yeah, they would be good. Literally any unit popping up. You could tell me now. I got to go get these for when I build up more Death Guard. And I got to go get some of these things. That actually, I could make them look real ugly.
There's a lot of options. There's a lot of options for models. If you want to change up the style, like Mantic Games has some for their Veerman line, and they actually have an extender you could buy to make it longer, not the short little dumpy thing it is stock. And then the ones that I'm using for my models are they're like drop pod proxies from like 2010. I'm trying to remember the company name. I just bought them to Ramshackle Games. They make some underground like drill assault things too. And then there's some models for Drop Zone Commander. But I don't think the scale works. I think they're just way too small.
Yeah, they're too small.
Even their massive one is too small, I think.
Yes,
and I was very sad because I love the design on that model. If I get that thing like at double the size it is, it'd be perfect.
Because I want to hear Dan's reaction to this. Dan, have you seen the new Shaltari model? Okay, good. I hate it.
I hate
All right.
it.
Very quick aside. That was fine. It is dumb. No, I didn't know.
Did you not know
I was hoping you had seen it.
It's so dumb. The UCM one, UCM, amazing. Looks great. PHR looks amazing. The Scourge one
it
is
fits the
okay.
motif.
It looks kind of squiggy like. Yeah, it's fine. Shaltari looks so dumb. So dumb.
Yes, it does.
It looks like a totem.
It's got 30
totem.
different points at which it can snap and break on you.
Oh, I hate it so much.
All right. Let's move on to Armored Spirit. So as we move to the last 3 here, Brethren of Iron, obviously that's going to make sense when we get to it for Dan to do, because it's all about stuff out of your brand new in your hands mechanical. Well, okay, on your tablet Mechanicum book. Steve, do you care which of the other 2 that you do?
I mean, I'll do Fury since
that's what I figured, but I wanted to give you the option in case you wanted to avoid it for some reason. All right, I will take Armored Spearhead then. Armored Spearhead is exactly as it sounds. You're taking a bunch of vehicles. So we'll start with limitations for this. So all units in this attachment, and this is one of the ones the same way as Fury, it's going to allow you to break the standard rule of what lets you take a Rite of War in a very specific way. For the limitations, all units in this detachment that use this Rite of War with the infantry type must begin the battle embarked upon a model that is a transport. Any infantry models in the detachment using this Rite of War, both deployed on the battlefield and in reserves, that are not embarked upon a model with a transport at the beginning of the controlling player's first turn, must be removed as casualties. You have to be in a vehicle. If you are infantry, no matter where you are, if you are not in a vehicle, you die. You can't take fortifications. Dan is going to get, spoiler, Dan's going to talk about the only one where you're allowed fortifications. A detachment using Rite of War may not include any model that has a move characteristic of a 0 or dash. So that would be what? Drop pods? And
yes.
Like sentry guns. Yeah.
Yes. Do the
rapier batteries?
And I can't remember their damn names.
No, they have movement. They have a movement characteristic.
Yes, do they move?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I was checking. All right, so for the effects for what you get for this. All units in the detachment that use this Rite of War eligible to take a Rhino transport as a dedicated transport can instead, or may instead, select a Legion Randlater Proteus as a dedicated transport if they number 10 models or less. So here they specifically call it out. I'm curious on the other one. It is worded that you can't, but the wording here makes it feel pretty good that you should be able to. For the other ones where he said like, oh, up to 10 can take a Rhino. Can you take the Storm Eagle? Yeah, if you're 12 guys, take a Storm Eagle. Have fun. Tell them, I don't know, F-list people online told you could. Legion Predator squadrons in the detachment that use this Rite of War may be selected as troops. So Predators can be your troops. Sicaran squadrons can be your elite choice. And in a detachment using this Rite of War, a single Legion Sicaran squadron or single Legion or Predator squadron that is only a single model. So they say squadron because that is the unit entry name, but you're only taking one, must be selected as an HQ choice. It gains the Master of the Legion special rule. Remember, Master of the Legion is what lets you take Rites of War, so that's how you're allowed to do this. And must be selected as the Army's Warlord, and must use the Master of Armor Warlord trait, which is written below. In this case, the model must be selected as the Warlord despite having the vehicle unit type, and regardless of any other rules that would require another model to be selected as a Warlord. Note this means that some units and characters cannot be selected as part of this army, such as Primarch. So, if you're taking Armored Spearhead, whichever vehicle it is, whether it's a Predator or Sicaran, it has to be your Warlord. So if anyone else says they have to, you're not allowed to have them. We'll get to the Warlord trait in 1 second. So to take this, I don't have to have a Praetor. Yes? Yes. So this is this
you don't
and
need
Fear
one.
of the Ancients is the ones where you get it unlocked by attempting to take it itself. And you could theoretically have an army of nothing but vehicles. So for your Warlord trait. Huh?
Ah, the Sicaran Omega.
I do
I said the
love that
Sicaran
one.
Omega. I want someone to bring
Got
that
a
to me
problem
before.
for you there, Dan.
What happened?
Sicaran Omega is its own
Yes.
squadron, and it's its own unit. You could only have the basic battle cannon Sicaran as the elites or the HQ.
No,
You
because
can't
they're
take the
named
plasma.
separately.
Nope. That's still
Yes, because-
still heavy support.
Yeah,
I just want to make that clear. When it says a Legion Sicaran tank squadron, that means the tank squadron. That is the autocannon tank.
You know why I'm getting confused? Because they
Because-
changed, because like in the Mechanicum book, there used to be the Thanatar Calyx and the Thanatar Canis, right? Now it's just Thanatar Canis, and you can upgrade it to the Thanatar Calyx. But the original name is that. So I thought it was you take a Sicaran and you can upgrade it to the Omega. I didn't know
this fits very much
Nope.
what we were saying before for the Rite of War that you were discussing. In Pride of the Legion, where it's when it says Cataphracti Squad, that is a particular elite choice. When you say a guy in armor, that's a different thing. If you look in the book, it's Legion Sicaran Squadron is what it says. That is one choice. Different things are Legion Sicaran Arcus or Legion Sicaris Omega and all. It doesn't say those. So yeah, it's just your normal Sicaran. However, you still can take those other ones as normal heavy because now your heavy slots are open. So you could fill a bunch of Predators, have a Sicaran leading them technically, and have your heavy support be your special Sicarans.
Does the Predator have a plasma version on the top?
Yes, it does.
Oh, okay.
It's
I'm happy
it's a large blast.
Because the Predator, it's
I'm
one
back to
Predator
happy
squadron.
then.
It's only one entry, and there it says it can exchange its Predator cannon for one of the following, and it's a huge variety of weapons. So Predators are essentially one unit, where Sicarans are all essentially separate units from the book. Yes, very, very big change
from last edition. The Predators can have any top turret. Last edition, they could only
There's
have
one
the
Predator
autocannon.
entry. There are 6 types of Sicaran entries. That alone tells you. Warlord trait, Master of the Armor. A warlord with this warlord trait gains the Master of the Legion special rule, so you are allowed to take all this, and gets a 5 of info and increases ballistic skill by +1, but may never select the command squad or any other unit that uses the retinue rule. You can't have a bunch of guys in armor standing around this tank to protect it.
You can. They're just
Here
not
you're
that
not
good
allowed
at
to.
it.
You're not allowed to take them. Yeah.
This can't be a command squad. Yeah. I'm just picturing like the Deathwing companions. Like, yeah, I could totally intercept that las cannon.
You're going to
in
die
his
from it,
tank.
but you can.
Totally.
I mean, your corpse stopped it. I would have loved it if it let you do that, but you had to take like, I don't know, rhinos. Like you're protecting him with it, because that's essentially what it is. Your big thing is protected by the next thing down. So your Sakaran is protected by like a squad of 2 rhinos hanging out with him. I am in no way positioned currently to run this. For what is out in plastic, you kind of can't. In reality,
Wait,
it's true.
40K
Well, I'm talking about
kids.
for
wait,
things
no,
that
no,
are
no.
out pure 30K.
Came
And
out,
also,
didn't it?
you just have to be riding in vehicles.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you could run this and then just automatically kill all your
Yes.
tactical marines out the gate, if you don't have rhinos for them to ride it.
Well, I was gonna say, didn't
No,
the
it's not.
Predator get released? I want to say.
Nope.
The Sakaran,
Announced
the base
not
Sakaran is out.
released. We're
Okay,
still waiting
okay.
on the Predator and 2 of the heavy weapon kits from that initial preview of what's coming in Horus Heresy.
That's true, actually. Yeah,
pre-release.
if you're an infantry, you can be embarked on a transport, so you're okay there. I would say you could run it with what's out there now. And again, yeah, there's 40K has some Predators. Runs some 40K Predators. Who cares? While the other ones are not out yet, they're it's all fine. But in terms of what they've specifically put out for 30K, it would be kind of tough in my mind to run it for exactly what you want. Although you could put those guys in some rhinos that would be fine. And you do now have the Sakaran kit. And if you happen to have some Predators, you can run a very cool army. Or in the future, or if you happen to have a collection already, because some people absolutely do, of course, you could run your army. There's 2 ways to run armies without infantry. This is this base, not counting some of the Legion stuff. Here's one of them, and you could actually even take, like I said, for those guys that can take a dedicated rhino, they could take Proteus, Land Raider Proteus carriers instead. So you could have just a wall of steel facing your opponent. How was it?
I've played against this before with my Custodes. It was well, okay. So Custodes back in 1.0, Custodes really didn't have anti-armor. Their version of anti-armor was either taking the Ares, which is the thing that got released for Aeronautica, which has that big Magna bullshit las cannon. But also they have like the Telemon kind of took anti-tank, but essentially it was actually a fun game because he needed to get on the point, and I had fists that were strength 10. They were punching railguns essentially. So it was a fun back and forth actually, because my Custodes were dying to essentially heavy weapons which could penetrate their armor. But then when he would drive onto the objective, my Aquilons would pop out of the wall and just punch it. It was fun.
This one seems like a lot of fun.
Game too.
If you're playing objectives and you aren't bringing line units, because technically in this you don't have to. You can make your Predators troops, but they're not line, so they can't score. But if you have a bunch of Predators and I slaughter all your line units with my cannons, it doesn't matter. I don't know, maybe it'd be good or something like that, but I think it would be a lot of fun. And as more vehicle comes out, because you're allowed to take this one as an ally detachment. There's nothing that says you can't, as long as your game is big enough, of course.
For the before, yeah.
Oh, does it say you can't be?
An ally, but this
oh,
cannot
yep.
be
Sorry, yep. It's the very last one. Yep, can only be selected as
because it has to have your warlord.
I was like, that would actually be kind of fun.
Should point out for people who are like, I know, I
right.
always do that all feeling hurts so much. I will point out for people who are like, oh my God, how do I beat this much armor? Always remember.
Crack grenades hit rear armor.
Charge the vehicle, because this actually happened to me 2 weeks ago, because the Myrmidon axes are Sunder, strength 7. And I'm like, why the fuck are they strength 7 Sunder? That makes it, they can't do anything. And then I had my friend Sean be like, Dan, remember, you attack rear armor when you charge a vehicle. So a Predator on the booty is
10?
I don't know. I don't know Predators.
Yeah, it should be 10.
Is it 11?
It's 10. It's 10.
Oh Jesus! Yeah, no, it's 10. So
and don't forget, all your tactical marines have crack grenades, which are strength 6 and automatically hit, and they automatically hit rear armor. So just roll 10 dice, and oh wow, look at that! I rolled at least 3/4 predator.
Yeah, exactly. So realize that
It's
shooting might
very
not
easy to
do
kill.
anything. Yeah, shooting might not do anything, but if you charge a tank, unless it's like a Land Raider or something, or what was it, a Kratos? Yeah, I figured out on Friday when Dave took it that a
It's
Kratos
a
was
Land
14
Raider with
all around,
it's a
and I was like,
weird
oh,
Land Raider with a different
that's
gun on top.
that's a thick,
Yeah.
that's a thick boy with 3 C's. But no, it was a lot of fun. Like, so yeah, unless you're going against a Kratos or a Land Raider, then bring anti-tank. But I think actually, so hold on.
Yes.
Besides Kratos or Land Raider, since we're on this, and this is actually besides a Kratos and Land Raider variant, what is the next heaviest thing underneath that?
Yeah.
It's a Sakaran,
Legion
right?
Typhons. Legion Typhons are lighter.
Are they 14 all
Yeah,
around
14.
though?
They're
14,
13 rear armor.
Okay, so that would be the highest the next lowest. Because Sakarans, I think, are 11 on the
Cerberus
back.
are 14, 14, 13
Yes.
as well. Sakarans are 12 on the back. Yeah, I'm flipping through the Sakarans right now. Yeah, they're
really?
13 front,
damn.
side, and back
Nice.
12.
Okay.
And then drop pods are 12 all around. Because, that's
So
exciting.
yeah, so basically the unhurtables for your tacticals are Typhon and up. Or Cerberus and up.
Yep.
Okay. That's not bad. I mean, you're not gonna this list is not gonna spam like Spartan, Kratos, Land Raider. It might, but
Well, Dan, I think you're forgetting. I think we're all forgetting. Any
Yes.
unit could have a Rhino can instead have a Land Raider.
oh my god.
Yeah, as long as they could
That's
take it
the
as
first bullet point
dedicated,
of
yes,
what
they
you
can
gain.
switch
That's true,
out.
that's true.
And I did
Actually,
watch a very cool Blood Angels army run this Rite of War. It was 3 despoiler squads in Land Raiders that had the triple las cannon setup, because of course. And then 3 ball predators just filling in the points. This was for 1,500. And it was actually one of the top performing loyalist armies at this event.
I
think it's just because loyalists, they're doomed to fail because they're loyalists and it's what they deserve. But aside from that, it works. You probably still want some infantry in your army just to cap objectives in the late game. I think that the Land Raider is a really big boon because then you can have units such as Despoilers loaded up inside of them, run up the board, hop out, assault. Normally it's hop out, wait a turn.
And if you're taking
assault.
a lot more of the vehicles, if you're filling this thing with Predators and Sakarans and all, you're overall, I mean, they're a little bit more costly than maybe your base, some of your troop units and all. Although Predators aren't really that much, but you're probably not running individual Predators. You're probably taking actual squadrons. So I think it's really cool. This is one of the ones where, again, I can't run it. I don't have this sort of tanks, but when I get to the point, yeah, I'd absolutely try. And okay, it has to be your primary. So you have to fill that out a little bit, but there's none that doesn't say, this one doesn't disallow an ally. So if you do want to have more people on foot, you could put them in the ally instead. If you just want to put a couple, put 2 Predator tank troops as Sakaran HQ and maybe a little bit of something else if you want there. I know. It's cool. This one I like a lot. I don't know how well it would do. I don't know if I'll ever see it, but I like it. All right, Dan, you are up for Brethren of Iron. All right.
Of course. And now that I have the book in front of me. All right. So this is the Brethren of Iron. So let me talk about the limitations, of course, as always is first. A detachment using this Rite of War may not have more units that include 1 or more models with the automata unit type than total number of units it includes that do not include any models with the automata unit type. So I read this and my brain farted, by the way, and I read it again. I was hoping that if I read it again live, like it would come to me. Dave, does this mean you can't have less automata on the field than more? Can you dumb five this one for me?
You were
Because I had the biggest brain
start
fart.
saying it backwards. Your number of units that are automata cannot be the same or cannot outnumber the units that are not automata. Because notice it says cannot be more than.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay.
So you're allowed to be equal, but they can't have more.
I read this and I'm like, what the fuck? Okay, we're good. We're good. I was in the right realm of I was in the reality. So At least one model with a Cortex controller must be included in the detachment for every 3 models with the automata unit type in the detachment. And that's what I'm going to ask for Steve. Steve, I believe the only Cortex controller in the Legion book is the
I think
the Forge Lord. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I think there's actually
And I think Tech Marines have the option.
Okay.
I think the
I will
generic
check
Tech
while
Marine
you
take
guys
it.
talk about it.
Yeah, check to see if Tech Marine has it because I'm not.
And a few of the console types.
Okay. And it's for 3 models, by the way. So not units, models. No model or unit in the detachment may be given the Paragon of Metal special rule, which I'll talk about in a second, because that's actually kind of hurtful as limitation. I'll talk about why in a second. A model with the Forge Lord Legion Consularis upgrade must be taken as a compulsory HQ choice. He does not need to be the Warlord, though. Of course, this will preclude certain other characters from being included in the detachment. That means in most cases that both Legion Praetor and Legion Forge Lord must be taken. So, before I get to the effects, I want to talk about the Paragon of Metal, and also I want to refresh people's brains on what an automata does, because it runs through protocols, essentially. So first of all, let's talk about protocols. Remember that when you have an automata or cybernetic unit, it has a protocol that it must do. You can move it in any direction during your phase, right? It moves wherever, but it almost must always shoot the closest target with all of its weapons or all of its usable weapons. But I believe, so I say all of its usable weapons, but at this point, every automata can fire all of its weapons with no penalty. So I don't know why that is, but so you have to fire at the closest target. And if within range, so 12 inches, you must charge at the valid closest target. This gets turned off, or you can ignore your protocols when you have someone with a Cortex controller within 12 inches of the automata unit. All right, so a Cortex controller can basically stop the automata from shooting and charging the closest unit. But again, it can move anywhere, so you could kind of still screw around. Like you can be like move closer to a tank if you want to shoot the tank, but it can limit you.
For things that have Cortex controllers, the Praevian comes with one.
Yes.
And the Forge Lord may take one for 15 points.
Okay.
Additionally, the Rite of War allows
so
the Tech
the Tech Marines because of this will allow you to have it.
Perfect. I didn't talk about.
Yep.
Let me see. Okay, good. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that I wanted to go. So now let's talk about the Paragon of Metal, because this does hurt that you can't do this. So what?
Then don't mention it. Don't make them sad.
No, because you can't have it. How bad the limitation can be. So I did talk about the automata and what you can do. What Paragon of Metal does basically is not only turn off the protocols, but it also gives you precision strikes 4 up, precision shots 4 up. It will not die 4 up. Rampage 2. You get your wounds and weapon skill increased by 1. And it was kind of used to kind of stop. It basically jump starts one of your automatas. Or automatas, but you can't do it. So that I'll talk about that. I want to mention it because when we get to the effects, I want to make sure people understand that that's a heavy limitation. So the effects. First of all, your Castellax battle
just
automata maniples. What is the star? Oh, mechanical book. May be taken as non-compulsory troop choices, and Vorax battle automata maniples may be taken as non-compulsory fast attack choices. And Domitar battle automata maniples, and those are sexy, may be taken as non-compulsory elite choices in detachment using this Rite of War. In addition, and this is where it hurts with the Paragon of Metal, a single Thanatar Siege automata maniple of no more than 1 model may be taken as a non-compulsory heavy support choice using this Rite of War. So basically, you get your choices of Castellax, Vorax, Domitars, and Thanatars, which ironically I think is every single fucking. Oh no, it's ignoring the flying one.
Ursarax?
Let me see. Hold on. I'm trying to think. Run through robots real quick. Yeah, no, that's everyone except the flying drone.
Technically, I think that Silax are now classed as automata.
No, they're not. Stop that. Oh, now I gotta look. Oh,
Yeah.
I have the troop selections open. Give me a second.
I don't even have the book, and I think I know this.
No, but they didn't used to be automata, did they? I never ran them.
Guardian automata instead of battle automata.
Oh yeah,
I think they're technical automata subtypes.
Yet to find someone who runs those. When you find someone,
I love the models, but they're so spindly.
You find someone who runs those, and so I'll give you like a quick rundown because we didn't really talk about.
Just another thing to note, real fast, which is a big thing that you might not immediately pick up on. because you're forced to use a Forge Lord as your compulsory HQ choice, you also are going to end up with Phalanx in the elite slot.
Ooh, so I will
Because the
make the Phalanx.
Forge Lord unlocks Phalanx.
Nice.
And the
Okay.
Phalanx will get the Legion Astartes special rule.
Stupid question. Is that they can keep line then, right? I do believe.
Yes.
Is another elite? Okay. So
They
I will
don't
mention them because that's actually pretty damn. That's okay. Now we're entering levels of spice that I'm liking. So, sorry. Before I go into what each one does,
Hold on. Two more things. The Battle Automata from that list do not gain Legion special rules. They just go into your detachment.
No, but the Phalanx will.
Phalanx will, and if you take a Legion Praevian, those Automata will.
Okay.
Yeah,
so you can end up with a weird mix of both Legion and non-Legion.
I should also point out that Tech Marines can also get Cortex controllers at 20 points. So let's really quick, I'm going to run down real quick the different automatas. I know we haven't done a Mechanicum review yet. I like the book. I know some people are doom and gloom.
If they're doom and gloom, I would think they're doom and gloom the other way. Like there's way too much in here. We don't know what to do against it.
No, there's
literally the
doom and gloom, like everything sucks. And it's so little TLDR. I'm going to literally give us a 30-second TLDR. I think people are coming into Mechanicum with a 1.0 mindset, expecting their Castellax to be monstrous creatures, AP2, and still the Mechanicums have their units have changed. Everything now does something different. They're still amazing units, but they're not the same type of role. And people are coming into this with, well, now I can't do this anymore. It sucks. And kind of ignoring the fact that now you do something else, but better. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. Domitars, 145 points. I'll give you right now, most automata are going to be strength and toughness 7, strength 7, toughness 6. The Domitar is toughness 7. It's got an extra wound. It's 5 wounds. Weapon skill 4. 3 attacks. The big thing with the automata, it's 145 points. It is a very hefty unit. The big thing with this automata, the reason it's really good, it has 2 fists. Which, let me just check something. With 2 graviton gains an additional attack is not included. I apologize. So it's actually got 4 attacks because it's got 2 fists. It has 4 attacks at strength 10, AP 1, concussive 2 or something. But you can also shoot these as haywire templates. Meaning, if there's a contemptor that dares to try to charge your Domitar model, it will be hit with 2d3. Oh, no, wait. It can't react. Never mind. Ignore me.
Agony.
That sucks. Oh, yeah, because you can't take a cyber. You can't override its command with cyberthurgy. Oh, that hurts. But it does have 2 haywire templates, which is still nice. Sorry. All these guys, except for the Phalanx, have a 5-up invulnerable save. Cannot be instant killed. They get the automatic deflectors
and Leviathans have
all that. Contemptors get. Yes. So that's your Domitar. It's basically 2 heavy fists that are strength 10. I'll skip Phalanx. I'll come back to them. Castellax. These are your basic kind of big boys. Again, strength 7, toughness 6, 4 wounds. They are weapon skill 3. Everything else after this is going to be weapon skill 3. I think Vorax are weapon skill 4. But just realize they're weapon skill 3. The big thing with these guys is that they're armed. Oh, hold on. The additional attack is not included in the profile, for fuck's sake. So they're 3 attacks. These guys have shock chargers with bolters in them. So essentially these are AP3 attacks. That's literally it. They don't have concussive, they don't have anything. They're just AP3 melee attacks. And they have a Mauler bolt cannon stock, which is a 4-shot strength 6 AP4 pinning gun. However, you can change that gun for a multi-melta, which is cool. But in my opinion, the spicier version is the Darkfire cannon, which is a 2-shot strength 7 AP2, gets hot, blind, and lance gun. So anything that's armor 14 now counts as armor 12 when you're shooting with this. You can also add in flamers. You can give it a Maxima bolter? Huh. That's new.
That's new.
That's new. Huh. That's kind of cool. That's actually an interesting choice then, because that's all of a sudden, yeah. Anyway, and then you can also replace the fist with 2 power blades, which makes the melee AP4, but it makes it breach 5. So you trade the AP3, but you have the possibility of hurting Terminators. So yeah, they're very much a fire support unit. Very good at doing that. Vorax are the really cool. People either love them or hate their look. I don't know why people.
They
I like.
are amazing.
I love the way
And
they look.
anyone
People try to
who
eat them,
thinks
but
otherwise is tasteless and tacky.
so these guys are again strength 6, toughness 5. So they're a little weaker. They are weapon skill 4. Very interesting. They're 3 attack. Hold on, the additional attack is not included. They're 4 attacks. I gotta read that stupid thing every time because I don't know if it's included or not. They are light. They do come with scout and fleet too. So they are very very fast. They're armed with 2 inbuilt rotor cannons. So they do DACA. They have a lightning gun. I'll talk about the lightning gun when we get to Phalanx in a second. They now come with automatic deflectors. This used to be a big thing with them. They have a 3-up armor save, which is better than their 4-up from last edition, and now they have a 5-up invulnerable and can't be insta-killed, which is amazing. And yeah, that's kind of them. They're very quick, very fast. The power blades, remember, are AP4, breach 5. And then last but not least, the spiciest of all, next to Phalanx. I know Steve loves this Phalanx, but I want to talk about the Thanatar because the Thanatar is sexy. Thanatar is strength 8, toughness 8, 7 wounds. This thing is a monster. It's beefy. It's also got a 2-up save. It's a Leviathan. Now, what it's armed with, melee-wise, is 2 shock charges. Who gives a shit? Don't put this in melee, please. It's got a twin-linked Mauler bolt cannon, so 4 shots, strength 6. It doesn't really matter. Now, there are 2 versions of this. You can take the Plasma Mortar, which is a strength 8, AP 4, breach 4, pinning, ignores cover weapon, large blast.
Give me a second, I'm going to go vomit.
Oh, wait. That can double fire for D3. Can now if you take D3 wounds, which
is that built into the unit or is that a Cybernetica thing?
No, that's just the weapon rule. It's got reactor overload, meaning if you take D3 wounds, you can just double fire it. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Tech Marines and I love what are the other Legion leader called? What's he called? The Forge Lord. Do they have Machinators array or no?
Yeah.
The Forge Lord is a Machinator array. The Tech Marine is Servo War.
So you can repair this thing on a 3-up. Nice. So if you stick the Forge Lord with the Thanatar and it does D3 wounds to itself, on a 3-up you can repair one of those wounds instead of shooting.
Yes.
Not the Thanatar shooting, instead of your Forge Lord shooting. So little side kind of fun. You could also take a heavy las, which is a strength 10 AP1, 3 shots, armor bane, ranged, and I think it's got shock pulse 6+, which essentially it's a 3-shot strength 10 AP1 gun with armor bane. The reason I cry that you can't take Paragon of Metal is because then you can give him a precision shot 4-up and then start picking people. This is going to be kind of my game plan, picking out apothecaries and like people I don't like from squads with the las cannon. So it's just kind of a cool little thing Mechanicum would do. And then last but not least, Phalanx, again going very quickly. These are strength 4, toughness 5, 3 wounds, 4-up save, 5-up feel no pain. They have a lightning gun. I'll explain the lightning gun. It's a 18-inch strength set. Okay, it could be 2. It could shoot 2 versions. It could be 3 shots at strength 4. Whatever, who cares? Or it could be 1 shot at strength 7, rend 4, and shred, which is a pretty damn nice profile. Especially if you have like 6 of them in a squad or 9 of them in a squad. That's like 9 shots hitting on 3s, rending on 4 with shred. That's sexy. It's AP, doesn't matter unless you rend. You can give them some really cool upgrades. Personal favorites are the Phased Plasma Fusel, which is a 3-shot, strength 6 AP3 breach 4-up gun, or the Photon Thruster, which is the Darkfire Lance, only strength 6. Or you can give them chain bayonets, you can give the whole unit melt-bombs, but, and I think Steve loves this the most, he's like salivating here, they come with something known as the Incunabulin jetpack.
I was waiting for you just to stop trying.
They come with a jetpack. That is fucking Christ.
Sure.
Incunabulin. I swear it's Incunabulin. And essentially what happens is it makes it, you can use the jetpack to move 12. They move 7 normal. You can use it. But what this also lets them do is that they, after shooting, they can move 6 inches. So they can come out of cover, shoot, and then jump away out of line of sight so they can't be shot. And
Now, question.
Hold on, wait. And then on top of that, if this wasn't spicy enough, they can also you add this movement to their reactions as
That's
well.
how jetpacks work.
Because why not? Well, yes, but it's just normal. You know, maybe there's a downside. Nope, no downside. They don't need one. What was your question, Steve?
Is that before or after your target does reactions?
We're going to ask that, and I'm pulling up I literally have the rule up right now. So, in addition to the bonus to move during the movement phase, a unit composed entirely of models with the jetpacks may make an additional move of 6 inches during the shooting phase. This move must be taken after the unit has completed any shooting attacks and is not limited by the weapons fired by that unit during the shooting phase and ignores terrain in the same manner as moves made
first
in the movement phase.
Yes, it would be after reaction because your reaction happens before the shooting attack is done.
Yeah, you'll be able to react. Yes.
Yeah, because the shooting, the shooting action, the shooting action is done once you've taken ones, removed casualties and everything. You react before your casualties ever move, so you're still in the middle of the shot.
Yes. Still spicy.
I like these guys a lot because they're line and elites, so you could squeeze extra scoring units into your list.
They're not bad.
They're good. You're allowed to actually like things.
Not bad. They're good.
Yeah,
they're
for 125. No. But like for 125 points, you're looking at a unit that is toughness 5, 3 wounds each, 4 up save, which does kind of suck, but they have a 5 up feel no pain. Do not put them in melee. as is the normal. So the big reason, by the way, everything used to be weapon skill 3 back in the day anyway, in 1.0. The weapon skill chart change from 1.0 to 2.0 is what makes me say don't put them in melee. They're still weapon skill 3, but now you hit on 5s instead of 4s, like back in the day. But yeah, no, they're stubborn. Sorry, they're feel no pain 6 up, not 5 up. I kept saying 5 up over and over. Oh man, people are gonna yell at me. Gods. Yeah, the feel no pain.
In the past, everyone has always been very nice about saying
they just write in all caps.
Oh, before I forget, Phalanx also have one more special rule that is extremely spicy. Because people are like, okay, but you shoot at someone in cover, they get a cover save. So maybe their Ren sucks, or you shoot their 3-shot, plasma, that AP3, they're still gonna get cover saves. No, because they have Jin sight, and any cover saves you receive are at -2.
Which means ruins are at a 7 up.
Which means you get no ruin save.
Skirmish to get a 6 up when in a ruin.
Yep.
Now, do you still get to take shrouded rolls?
No. Shrouded is a mitigation.
Is shrouded a cover?
No, but a lot of things that fuck with.
Let me check.
Right. But things that ignore cover ignore shrouded. So I don't know if there was any clause about the shrouded.
So I have Jin sight open. When making shooting attacks, Jin sight reduces the benefits of any cover save the target has by -2. Additionally, infiltrators may not be set up within 24 inches of this unit, regardless of line of sight. So it doesn't mention.
You would still have your shrouded off of that.
Okay, so then they work
the cover. It doesn't ignore the cover. Where shrouded goes away if you are ignoring cover.
Yeah.
Very important distinction. Good to know.
It's not.
Although wait, your shrouded is 5 up. So
no, it's shrouded, not a cover.
Not
save.
even that.
It's not a cover save. God, it's okay. Got it.
It's an entirely different thing.
Okay.
Yep.
Got it. But, and also infiltrators can't be set up within 24, which is also very nice.
Oh yeah. Now there's some infantry, right?
Sorry.
They are infantry with subtypes, right?
You talking about the Phalanx?
Yes.
The Phalanx are infantry with line.
Okay. So you couldn't sneak them into, say, the armored spearhead.
And again, they're not expensive. They're 125 points.
No, I mean like list writing wise, you couldn't get them into that list because they're restricted being infantry.
125 points and 37 points per model. And remember, you can give it the entire unit may take melta bombs, 5 points each per model though. This is not like the unit takes it. And they can take chain bayonets. I mean, if you're getting into melee, might as well give them chain bayonets.
Yeah, no, he didn't.
Please,
I don't think you understood my question, but that's fine.
Oh, I was just. Yeah.
Fun Rite of War. If you kind of want to start a Neko army, but you aren't ready to go all in.
If you're building up,
do
this
this
is
as
a
a
good way to
stopgap.
be able to play your games while you
I
build
agree.
up until you're at the point where you can do a full mechanical.
And maybe they might release, like they used to have a Mechanicum, not a starter set, but like a Mechanicum Battle Force that actually saved you money. I know, shocking.
My
So
dream is a Schism of Mars box set that
oh my god, could you
releases
imagine in
all that
plastic?
stuff.
I would buy that so fucking quick. Oh,
The only
God.
thing is, every model will be 3 to 4 times the number of parts. If you look at the Contemptor Dreadnoughts and the Leviathans versus the Resin ones, the assembly got
Phalanx would have
so
been
much more involved.
yeah,
Even
Phalanx would have
Phalanx,
been bad.
because the Phalanx, each leg would end up being the main part of the leg, plus 2 armor pieces, plus the foot. So that each leg
It very well
goes from
could.
being 1 piece to 4 pieces.
No, the legs
The
would probably stay the
torso would
same.
become a minimum of 3 to 5 pieces.
No. So the legs
Yes.
would stay the same because they're
Nope.
they're
The
not
armor
glued
plates,
in.
there's undercuts. The undercuts, fuck it. It's
Ah,
going to be 5 pieces, 4 to 5 pieces per leg.
oh no, try
And there's
that.
no way around it
Oh.
other than being resin. Or, GW investing in multi-part molds
Ha.
with sliders and such.
So anyway,
That's never happening.
This Rite of War, very much like Dave said, you're looking to start a Mechanicum. This is a great pool. Dip your toe in to Mechanicum. If I had a recommendation of what you pick up first, it's between either the Domitar or the Thanatar. Mostly because they're very simple to use. Domitars, you. Oh, sorry, I should have asked. Does the Forge Lord have Patris Cybernetic on him or no? Sorry, I should have asked that before. Because then he can't even join the unit, but he could be near it. No? Okay. So he can't join the unit, but now you have like 4 Domitars at strength 10, then you run them up the field and you punch shit. Or you take a Domitar, keep your Forge Lord nearby so he doesn't keep shooting the closest target, and now you have like a double shot, strength 8, AP 4, breach 4, large plastic Norse cover. You know what I mean?
So far from what I know, anyone who thinks that Mechanicum is
yeah.
underpowered has not actually looked at the book at all yet. But we'll get to that in the future because this isn't Mechanicum review.
I don't understand.
Yeah.
People.
You
Yes,
can join.
future, but it's just
Hold on.
I don't understand it.
The Forge Lord does
Yes.
have Master of Automata, which does allow him to join them.
Oh, so yeah, take a Master of the Forge Lord, stick him with 4 Domitar, and you have yourself. Do not ever charge this unit. Like, ignore this unit as much as humanly possible. Because to give you an idea, that is, let's say you take 4 of them. Fuck it, whatever. That is 16 strength 10 AP 1 attacks.
With respect to where I would start, I would come at it for you with the other direction.
Absolutely.
I would start with either Castellax or Vorax because you could take those outside of this Rite of War, whereas the Domitar and Thanatar can only be taken in the Rite of War. The Castellax and Vorax both be taken either as the Rite of War or as an attachment to your Legion Previan.
Or Phalanx. Or Phalanx. Phalanx, I think.
Or Phalanx with the Forge World, yes.
Yeah.
But you don't take the Rite of War for the Phalanx. You just happen to also have access. You take the Rite of War for the Castellax and the Vorax.
I'll be honest, anything you take, honestly, is pretty good with Mechanicum.
Give it time, the complaints are going to go the other way. But we'll get to that.
People are going to complain.
No, let's stop. Let's go on.
Speaking of people complaining the other way, we got one last Rite of War. Buckle up. We're going to take on the fury of the ancient.
You don't get to complain as the guy running Mechanicum. Yeah. You just told us all the terrible things you can do.
For real,
you don't get to complain.
I watched you dissect an army in, 2 turns? Oh,
It took 3.
Ugh.
It took 3 turns.
Oh, 3 turns. My apologies. So, turning off the limitations, because there's a lot of limitation bullet points here. Not that they are that bad. So, all compulsory troops must be Legion Contemptor Dreadnought Talents. So that means between 2 and 6 Contemptors as your 2 compulsory troops, because talents you take up to 3. No model can be a console, unless they're a Forge Lord, Primus Medicae, or Mortificator. So, no Delegatus, or no Herald, things like that. Just Forge Lord, Primus Medicae, and Mortificator. You could have only a single fast attack and a single heavy support, unless that unit is entirely Dreadnought unit types. So this is more flexible than the similar rule we got in Prior to the Legion. Because here, you can still fill all your heavy support slots with Derrideos and Leviathans. Whereas in Prior to the Legion, you could pick one heavy support among all the types. So a little bit more flexibility there. You don't get any fortification choices. Oh no, heartbroken. You may not select a Lord of War. That's fine. You have Dreadnoughts. Who needs Lords of War? We have Dreadnought. You can only use this as the primary detachment, but you are still able to take an allied detachment if you so choose. And you cannot roll to seize the initiative. That's fine. If you go first, if you go second, it's all the same because you have so many wounds and so much toughness per model. All right. What do you gain for these limitations? Contemptor Dreadnoughts may be taken as troops choices. Okay. Compulsory troops gain the line subtype.
Yep.
So that means you have up to 6 scoring Dreadnought units. Yes. 6 scoring Dreadnought models is nothing to laugh at. Additionally, a single Contemptor Dreadnought Talon of 1 Dreadnought, so a single Contemptor, must be selected as your compulsory HQ choice. And you must take the Venerable Ancient upgrade for an extra 30 points. Oh no, 30-point tax. What a shame. But what do you get for those 30 points? Oh, nothing special. Just Eternal Warrior and a 4-up invulnerable save.
It has to be your Warlord too. Yeah.
Oh, and you become a character subtype. Yes. Again, the character subtype, which means you can have a Warlord trait. So if there's a Warlord trait that you think, she's like, wow, if only my Dreadnought had that Warlord trait, how cool that would be.
And you can issue challenges.
Guess what? Now you got it. Yes. Absolutely. It's disgusting what that single model can do for you. Because Eternal Warrior also means that instead of taking D3 on instant death, you just take 1 and you laugh. You take a Forged Lord attached to the list, give them a nice thick squad of Terminators to hang out in, follow the Dreadnought and repair on a 2-up to heal back wounds. It's pretty nice. If you're a Salamander, you can regrow wounds on a 6. Or if you're an Iron Hand, you reduce incoming strength by 1, making you immune to bolters. There's just a couple of ways to make this absolutely
especially
disgusting.
if you put like Iron
Hand. If you do that, everyone will judge you. Yeah. One of the cool ones I think that's fun is if you're Iron Warriors, you can add 1 extra shot to the ranged weapons with the Warlord trait. So you can have a 2-shot plasma cannon. Yeah. It took me a few readings to figure out that's how it worked because the second half of that Warlord trait talks about infantry. The first half is just the model with the rule. So yeah, it's
At this point in the recording, we started going through and more of just getting into tactics, how to not so much play Fear of the Ancients, but much more of how to play against it. After recording this segment, we talked about it. We figured that should probably be its own separate entry to discuss, rather than for all the other parts. We more have talked about what it's about, how it works, why it's cool, and then here it unfortunately got a little bit more negative to some respect than I would like, as well as it started to get into just discussions that didn't need to be had in the middle of what we're trying to get across here. So it's a little bit awkward where the ending point is, and the pickup point after this is going to be a little bit awkward as well. But we are going to do a separate discussion later to discuss a little bit more of Fear of the Ancients and both the good, the bad that some people have been having with that. So now back to the show. So we have went through 9 of these.
Final thoughts.
Let's throw out Fear of the Legion in terms of when we talk about like which one liked best or is best. Just because kind of unequivocal there to a certain extent. From fun perspective, what do we like the most?
I like Pride. If I had the money, I like Subterranean.
Assault. Because drills are so much fun.
Like, if you had the money, Subterranean Assault is really fun. I really like Pride.
Right.
That's because I just like 40 mil bases. That's just me. But I was very shocked by the Brotherhood of what is it called? Brotherhood of Iron?
Brotherhood of Iron.
Brotherhood of Iron.
It's run a bunch of mechanical. You play mechanical.
I was very shocked.
That's
I kind of like that one a lot. Because you can kind of play.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's not that. It's you can have Legion with Mechanicum support, which is kind of really nice because Mechanicum's biggest thing is we don't have scoring, a lot of scoring. So now you have your Legion scoring stuff, and then you have like your fire support Mechanicum. I really like Brethren of Iron. I feel like that combined arms list. Although here's the weird part. Let me just check something with Brethren of Iron because I didn't want to. I don't want to like whatchamacallit. I don't want to make a wrong statement. Okay, we're good. So what I was looking for, just for those who don't understand, when you take Mechanicum as allies, you need a specialized Archmagos to do it, and that's the only one you could. You can't do Cybernetica, you can't do Malag. You have to take a certain Archmagos to take it as an ally. This avoids that, so I like that. So this is kind of like you take support.
Honestly,
no, I
it's
like
more
this a
towards the
lot.
end.
I like
Spearhead, I
Brethren of
like a
Iron.
lot. I like the idea of just running a bunch of tanks for better or worse, and knowing that there's no way I'm going to put together Storm Eagles. Probably Sky Hunter is the other one, because I do like the Land Raiders. They also go well in my Legion, but I do like the Land Raiders. Running a bunch of, in this case, jet bikes, but running bikes and all. I do like those sorts of pieces. In terms of for where people best out of the box. So again, I want to aim this towards, if someone already has their collection, they didn't need us to tell them what these Rites of War do, because they already know, they look through it, they've already built an army towards it. But for someone somewhat new who's building up a force, where do they aim? What's the best one to aim for? Top 2 to aim for?
I'd say Pride. Because it's just
Pride is an
easier.
easy one, especially with the box set, because you get one special weapon set, and you now have a 3,000 point army, because veterans just that much more points intensive. So Pride is a great way to take that starting box, maybe a couple extra kits, and all of a sudden have a big points value available to you. Drop Pod Assault is one where it's a little more specialized. You end up buying a lot of models you could only use in the Drop Pod Assault for the most part. So not that one, even though it uses.
Is that really about it? Looking at it, kinda, and obviously,
I mean, Armored Spearhead. If you have access to rhinos, that have been out of stock for 2 months as of this recording. You know, and if you get your hands on rhinos and land raiders, Armored Spearhead's also a pretty solid option.
Real quick, I'll toss my hat in for Drop Pod Assault as well. I was just kind of, when you were mentioning that, I was kind of browsing eBay. Drop pods are super cheap.
Oh yes, and drop pods are disgustingly
cheap.
Because they suck. They suck in 40k, and they keep flip flopping between whether they're mandatory for Marines or
not
an active obstruction to victory in Marines.
Yeah, like there's a drop pod. I'm
$15,
like, sell.
$10.
I'm like, sell. $5 to $10 for a drop pod.
20 is a pretty standard number.
Now I gotta go buy some drop pods.
I'm looking, 5, 10, and 15 are kind of the big 3.
Ooh, no, I don't.
Look here.
I hate
drop pod flesh terrors. It's just spray painted.
I still would maybe for a really good deal, but I kind of hate models.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I don't know about that. We'll say.
Well, no, it's just spray painted. It's probably like literally spray painted red. That's
from where you might be starting after Pride of the Legion. It might be one of the easier ones, because there's nothing that says you have to take tons. If you could get a couple drop pods, you could make that army work. Where some of these other ones, the box won't help you at all. Recon, because Recon forces you to take some units that you don't really have.
I mean, a Marine with a bolt is Marine with a bolter. You could run all 40 of those boys as Recon Marines.
Yeah.
Give them all melta bombs, because it's 25 points from the squad. So you have 40 melta bombs for 100 points plus the actual squad prices.
So
charging like maniacs and dreadnoughts.
When you look
that'll kill it,
dreadnought. Their recons have essentially like a cape on them, a cloak. Really, is probably the better way. Not really cape, a cloak. Is that what you see people tend to do?
I would say any sort of camouflage would work.
No.
Okay, so they just take normal guys and paint them in camo.
But you could also just paint them camo.
Yeah, I've seen people.
Horus Heresy. Sure.
Or I've seen people take not PVC. God damn it.
Like PVA glue.
No.
Soak a piece of paper towel. Soak paper towel in PVA, and you can make capes.
I was gonna say people have taken small metal brass rods.
Yeah, that
And
would be the
extended
most
bolter
vulnerable.
barrels.
Okay, so
Yeah,
that
except
one
for
you
the
could
bolter
probably
barrels. And
do
there we go. You
without
have your
too much
sniper
work.
bolter.
Angel's
Super
Wrath,
easy.
if you're a new player, don't even look at. Honestly. Yes.
You need so many jump packs to do the
Yeah.
alternate approach. There's also a lot of things that
Yep.
logically would be a generic Rite of War that aren't options this edition.
Yep.
Like a jump pack list that doesn't all ride in Stormy.
I mean,
There's another one that one of the legions has that makes a lot of sense, and I'm
well,
blanking
Angel's
on
Wrath you could.
which one it was.
Because
Like,
it's
there's
if
a
they're
few
not
like
bulky.
logical ones that are
Oh
missing.
no, sorry, that's the one not bulky. Which one's the one where you
bikes.
have it if you're
Normal bikes.
bulky, you don't have to care. Oh yeah, no, Angel's Wrath has yeah. If you do not have jump
Underworld
packs,
Assault.
then you have to be in a vehicle and all. So you could have a bunch of jump pack guys. It gives you an option there. Yeah, Underworld Assault, okay. If you got a guys in jump packs or other bulky guys, then you have that option. But you're kind of playing away from the point of doing it then. Sky Hunter, you got really nothing to help you there. Drop pod, we talk about getting drop pods.
Yeah.
Brethren of Iron, you don't have the things at all. Armored Spearhead, maybe a little bit. We talked about them. We went through them. Unfortunately, I think a lot of them are kind of just out of reach for people who might be a little bit newer or starting out or building up forces.
Yeah.
That does make sense though, because these
Yeah.
are variations on the main Space Marine list to do the weird things.
I mean,
So it
because
makes
up to this
sense
point,
that
we've been talking
somewhat generic
through.
starter
They're
box
not all
doesn't
published
fit.
yet at this point, as of August 22nd, because I'm still editing and all. But we started going through some of the Legion Rites of War, and a lot of those, like I think I said at the beginning, a lot of those feel easier to fit, and it makes sense, just because get your special unit and you can run it. That's what a lot of them do, or not all of them, but a lot of them are like, get your special units, you get to take some of those guys, you have an option now,
I
or
agree.
at least one of them does that. These are greatly changing the way you build your build your army. So there's a reasonable chance that you kind of have to build for these rather than taking your collection and using it, unless your collection is very large. And that'll do it for us tonight. So what we have coming up next, we want to start getting back to going through the legions. Now that we've hit the halfway point, we went through the Unaligned Rites of War, and we have recordings, although not all released at this point, of the Rites of War for the ones that we've done previously. We're going to get back into the different legions. So we're going to be going through World Eaters next. We are going to be doing the Rites of War with it, although that's going to be a separate release, probably about the day or so after is usually the intention with that, just to, one, keep the episode a little bit more manageable, and also to make sure what we do in the first half mimics what we do in the second half, rather than changing up our style of doing any of this. As always, I do want to thank everyone for listening. Remember, this is available in any podcatcher you use. We also have this on YouTube. We just do ask, if you are listening, enjoying the content we're putting out, especially in terms of YouTube, likes and subscribes help a lot. For podcasts, following it is very important as well. So whichever way you get it, that really does help us out. And we're hopefully going to be able to keep up this 2 releases / 2 recordings a week until we get through these main legions. That's our goal. And as we go a little bit more forward, to be able to get you some additional content as well. All right. Well, on behalf of everyone here, have some good hobby and some great gaming.